Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 1248th public hearing and regular meeting of the Livonia City Planning Commission. I wish to inform all interested persons in our audience that for petitions on tonight's agenda, which involve a question of zoning, the Planning Commission will make a recommendation to City Council, and the City Council, after holding their own public hearing, will make the final determination as to whether a petition is approved or denied. The Planning Commission holds the only public hearing on requests for preliminary plats and or vacating petitions. The Commission's recommendation is forwarded to the City Council for final determination as to whether the petition is accepted or rejected. If a petition requesting a waiver of use or a site plan is denied tonight, the petitioner will have 10 days in which to appeal the decision in writing to City Council. Resolutions adopted by the City Planning Commission become effective 7 days after the date of adoption. The Planning Commission and professional staff have reviewed each of these petitions upon their filing. Staff has furnished the Commission with both approving and denying resolutions, which the Commission may or may not use depending on the outcome of the proceedings tonight. If our Secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mrs. DeNaro.
Here.
Mr. Bonjero. Here. Mr. Long is absent. Mr. Droz.
Here.
Mr. Ventura.
Is here.
Caremagno is here. Chairman Wilshaw.
Is here. Thank you. Also with us tonight, we have staff from our planning department. We have Erica Goff, we have Chris Canty, and Jacob Uhazi, all of which will be assisting us during this meeting in providing background information on these petitions. For anyone who hasn't been to one of our meetings, the format is that we will start by reading off each of the items on our agenda. Our staff from the planning department will give us background information on these items. We'll then ask the petitioner to come forward and speak to their item, tell us about their petition, and answer some questions that we may have. And then there will be an opportunity for anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak for or against a petition to come forward after we hear from the petitioner. And then after all that has happened, we will close the public hearing and a decision will be made on the item. So with that, we're going to start in the public hearing section of our agenda, item number 1.
Petition 2026-06-01-02, submitted by Guggenheim Development, LLC, pursuant to Section 13.15 of Livonia zoning ordinance as amended, requesting to rezone the property at 32520 7 Mile Road from C1 local business to C2 general business to allow for an automobile and light truck repair facility, Jiffy Lube, located on the north side of 7 Mile Road between Shady Side and Mayfield Avenues in the southwest quarter of Section 3.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Uhazi?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As stated, this is a request to rezone the property from C1 local business to C2 general business. The petition site is 1.32 acres in size and is currently a vacant lot. The proposal would be to operate a Jiffy Lube under Section 6.06 of the zoning ordinance, which treats it as a waiver use, where all repair work must be carried out within an enclosed building. Automobile repair shops shall have direct access to major thoroughfares, and outdoor storage of disabled, damaged, or unlicensed vehicles is prohibited. The surrounding neighborhoods include, to the north, the Canterbury Park apartment complex, zoned NM1. To the south, across 7 Mile, is the Pearson Center, zoned C1. East across Mayfield is the Memory Care Facility, zoned NM3. And to the west is the Commercial Retail Shopping Plaza, zoned C1. The purpose of the rezoning is to operate automotive service center use on the property. The concept site proposes a 2,944 square foot Jiffy Lube located at the front of the property. These setbacks would be 15 feet from the front with a side yard setbacks of over 8 feet. Access to the site would be provided via 2 drive approaches, one connection from the existing parking lot to the west via an easement, and one approach from the Mayfield Avenue to the east. There is a proposed dumpster in the northwest of the building at the center of the lot, shown here. The future land use plan for this site identifies it as commercial corridor Livonia Vision 21 describes that as the appropriate land uses for commercial corridor include office, general retail, commercial, food service, townhomes, apartments, and attached and upper story residential uses. Automotive-oriented uses such as gas stations, auto repair, or drive-through facilities may be appropriate in certain instances. With that, Mr. Chair, is all I have on this petition.
Okay, would you like
Excuse me,
to?
I have some correspondence to read as well.
Sure, if you can read that out for us. Thank you.
From Engineering Division. In accordance with your request, the Engineering Division has reviewed the above referenced petition. We have no objections to the proposed rezoning at this time, but would like to note the following items. 1, the subject parcel is assigned the address of 325207 Mile Road. The existing parcels are currently serviced by public sanitary water, sewer, water main, and storm sewer. Proposed utility services are not shown on the submitted plan, but we do not believe there will be any adverse effects on the existing system with the proposed usage. 3, the proposed development will be required to conform to the current version of the Wayne County Stormwater Ordinance, including detention. Stormwater reviews for the site may be completed by either City of Livonia or Wayne County, depending on the outlet chosen for site stormwater. 4, the owner will need to provide copies of the access easement for the proposed cross-traffic parking access for our records. 5, if the project is approved, engineering drawings will be needed to be submitted to this department and possibly Wayne County for review and permitting. Signed, David Lear, Assistant City Engineer. From the Fire Department, the office has reviewed the site plan submitted in connection with a request to construct a commercial building on the property located at the above referenced address. We have no objections to the proposal. A further detailed plan review will take place when this division receives an official plan set. Signed, Brian Kukla, Fire Marshal. From the Police Department, I have reviewed the plans in connection with the petition. I have no objections to the proposal. Signed, Brendan Adams, Sergeant, Traffic Bureau. From the Inspection Department, pursuant to your request, the above referenced petition has been reviewed. 1, an enclosure of sufficient height to completely screen the dumpster is required on 3 sides of the waste receptacle with a solid gate on the 4th side. The height of the enclosure must be not less than 6 feet or at least 1 foot above the height of the dumpster, whatever is greater. The enclosure gates shall be of solid panel steel construction or durable, long-lasting, solid fiberglass panel and, when not in use, closed at all times. The enclosure must be constructed of the same or compatible material and primary or colors as the principal building in terms of texture and quality. 2, exterior lighting sources shall be designed, constructed, located, and maintained in a manner that minimizes light trespass onto the neighboring property and public right-of-ways. The light trespass from the property shall not exceed 0.5 foot candles at the property line measured 5 feet from the ground. Signage must be conforming or a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals will be required. This department has no further objections to the petition. Signed, Jerome Hanna, Director of Inspection. From the County Office, I've reviewed the address connected with the above noted petition. As there are no outstanding balances, amounts receivable, general or water and sewer, I have no objections to the proposal. Signed, Armand Sims, Chief Accountant. From the Treasury Department, the owner of this property is current on their property tax. Signed, Susan Nash, City Treasurer.
All right, thank you, Mr. Yahazi. Is there any questions for our staff? Go ahead, Ms. DeNaro.
A question on the land use in the Vision 2021. This wouldn't fit what we're looking for. We are looking for more commercial corridors. Is that correct?
The future land use identifies it as commercial corridor, but the description in the master plan says that auto-centric uses like this are only appropriate in certain instances. So extra care should be considered if this is an appropriate commercial corridor for heavily auto-dependent uses.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. DeNaro. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair.
Bonjero.
Mr. Uhazy, would this site require a privacy wall, concrete or other?
It would require some sort of property wall to separate from the residential.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bonjero. Any other questions? All right. Before we get started, I always like to say, just as a reminder to folks, that this is a rezoning request. We do have a conceptual site plan that we've seen, and you've heard some communication from some of the city departments regarding that site plan. However, our charge today is to look at the zoning from C1 to C2. That's what we're going to try to focus primarily on. We can't deny or discount the fact that they have given us the proposed use for this property. We're going to take that into account, but our mission for today is to get the zoning taken care of and decision made on that. If this goes forward with the rezoning request, then a site plan would be the next step that comes back to us, where we talk in detail about that site plan and the contents thereof. So with that caveat in mind, I'm going to ask if the petitioner is here in our audience, which he is. He's going to come forward to our podium. We'll ask for his name and address to start us off. Good evening.
Good evening. Reed Jans, address 100 Camelot Drive, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin.
Thank you, Mr. Jans. What would you like to tell us about this petition?
Good evening. I'm Reed Jans, civil engineer, one of the civil engineers on the project. Happy to field any questions you certainly have. I guess overall, we do strongly believe that we will be in full compliance with the C2 district standards as we move along in this process and go through that site plan review and everything like that. So we do fully intend to work with you and make sure we're in compliance for all the various items. Additionally, I think with this property being 1.32 acres, it does give us a lot of flexibility in order to meet those regulations, whether that's increased landscaping or other buffering methods to especially, we obviously want to be good neighbors to the residential areas as well. So that it can be a positive development for everyone within the neighborhood, not just certain aspects. I guess additionally, as you mentioned, with it being a commercial corridor, we strongly believe that it is a reasonable and logical path forward for this property to be developed into this C2 zoning and ultimately into Jiffy Lube Automotive Service Center. Happy to field any questions or inquiries you may have. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your presentation. Do we have any questions from my colleagues for our petitioner? Mr. Droz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Jans, I recognize you're a civil engineer, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with maybe the history of the site or what the owner's looking for, but relative to the request to change the zoning, you did mention that, it's a site that has a lot of space, 1.32 acres in size. I guess if you have any knowledge of it, what made it difficult to develop a site of that size under the C1? And kind of saying, basically what I'm asking, what is it that requires this site to be a Jiffy Lube versus some other uses that might be a little more harmonious with the adjacent commercial properties?
I guess with this property specifically, we'll have plenty of buffer and be able to provide this automotive service center and be able to be compatible with that neighborhood. I'm not saying that no other business or something wouldn't be able to go into this site by any means. I'm just trying to create a vision for you of what it could potentially become as this automotive service center.
Okay. I think I'm good. Thank you, Mr. Jans.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Droz. Any other questions for our petitioner?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Caremagna.
Sir, is your client looked at any other properties in and around Livonia for a Jiffy Lube? Why here?
Certainly. Overall, I do work on these Jiffy Lube projects throughout the state of Michigan. Had a couple in Lansing last year, so they are established in this area. Additionally, as far as the exact real estate search that is primarily driven by Guggenheim Development on the front end, that I do not have access or conversations specifically regarding these specific sites within Livonia, but I do know that they do comprehensive searches to try and identify properties that would be a good fit for them and for the community that they're within.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caremagno. Any other questions for our petitioner? I see no other questions from my colleagues. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this item? If so, feel free to come forward. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Jerry Kersinski, 1948 Bainbridge Avenue. This local property is less than a mile from my house. I do remember that when Kmart was in the location at 7 in Farmington, they did have an auto service center. Otherwise, if you look at the map, this property does not really have very many competitors within a mile at all of it. So I suspect that is why the developer would have chosen this location. When this proposal came about, I was kind of surprised, but I don't necessarily have an opinion one way or the other as to whether this rezoning should occur. That property's been vacant for a long, long time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Karazinski. Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on this item? I don't see anyone else coming forward. Mr. Jans, you get the last word. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us before we make our decision?
We're just excited to be a part of your community here and work with you moving forward to make sure that all the individual items can be addressed and ensure compliance moving forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other questions, comments from any of my colleagues? If not, I'm going to close the public hearing, and a motion is in order.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Ventura.
I'm going to offer a denying resolution that the request to rezone the property at 32527 Mile Road from C1 Local Business to C2 General Business District is hereby denied for the following reasons. Number one, that the petitioner has failed to affirmatively show that the proposed change of zoning and the intended use of the property as an automotive service center would be compatible with or in harmony with the surrounding residential neighborhoods. Number two, that the existing C1 zoning is more consistent with the established pattern of development and character of the area. Number three, that the proposed zoning is inconsistent with the adjacent zoning districts in the area. And number four, that the proposed change of zoning is inconsistent with the established pattern of development and would adversely alter the character of the area.
Is there support?
Support.
All right. We have a motion by Mr. Ventura, supported by Mr. Bonjero. Is there any discussion on this motion to deny? Hearing no discussion, if the secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mr. Ventura. Aye. Mr. Bonjero. Aye. Mrs. DeNaro.
Aye.
Mr. Droz.
Aye.
Caremagno. Aye. Chairman Wilshaw.
Votes aye. That motion passes. This item has been denied. The petitioner does have 10 days in which to appeal this decision in writing to City Council. We now move on to item number 2 on our agenda.
Item number 2, petition 2026-06-02-18, submitted by J.P. Howe on behalf of Foga de Chao, requesting waiver use approval under sections 3.13 and 6.03 of the Livonia zoning ordinance as amended to operate an SDM liquor license, which is the sale of packaged beer and wine for consumption off the premises, in connection with a full-service restaurant at 38888 6 Mile Road, located at the northwest corner of 6 Mile Road and Fox Drive in the southwest quarter of Section 7.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Uhazy.
Thank you. This is a request to operate an SDM liquor license, which is the sale of packaged beer and wine for the consumption off premises, in connection with the full-service restaurant Fogo de Chao. This is a site that we are pretty familiar with. This is the former Comerica that's being redeveloped, and the current zoning is C4 high-rise commercial. SDM licenses are permitted with a waiver use in the C4 district, and set out in that provision is the separation requirement that treats, should be at least 500 feet from any other established similar liquor license. The separation requirement may be waived by city council, and they should also be located at least 400 feet from any church, school, or public or school. There are no such establishments within those buffer areas. With that, Mr. Chair, I also have some correspondence that I can read.
Sure, please go ahead.
From the Engineering Division, in accordance with your request, the Engineering Division has reviewed the above referenced petition. We have no objections to the proposed waiver use at this time, but would like to note the following items. 1, the subject restaurant is assigned the address of 39000 6 Mile Road. 2, the existing parcel is currently serviced by public sanitary sewer and water main, as well as private storm sewer. There is no mention of utility revisions with the proposal, so we do not believe there will be any adverse effects on the existing system. 3, should revisions to the utility services to the building or any work within the 6 Mile right-of-way be required, the owner will need to submit drawings to this department and the Wayne County Department of Public Services for permitting. From the Fire Marshal's Office. This office has reviewed the site plan submitted in connection with a request for an SDM liquor license for a commercial building on the property located at the above referenced address. We have no objections to this proposal. A liquor license inspection of the occupancy will occur as a final construction inspection when construction is complete. A further detailed plan review will take place when the division receives an official plan set. Signed, Brian Kukla. From the Police Department, I have reviewed the plans in connection with this petition. I have no objections to the proposal. Signed, Brendan Adams, Sergeant of the Traffic Bureau. From the Inspection Department, pursuant to your request, the above referenced petition has been reviewed. 1, this location is within 1,000 feet of another licensed establishment. Council would need to waive this requirement. This department has no further objections to this proposal. From the Finance Department, I've reviewed the addresses connected with the above noted petition. As there are no outstanding amounts receivable, general or water and sewer, I have no objections to this proposal. Please, signed, Erman Sims. And finally, from the Treasurer's Office, the property is current on their property taxes. Signed, Susan Nash, City Treasurer.
All right, thank you, Mr. Uhazy. Is there any questions for planning staff? Mr. Trose.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a question, Mr. Uhazy, just thinking about kind of procedure. We've seen several of these in the last couple years. Is there anything prohibiting our petitioners to ask for these at the same time as a site plan that comes through, or do we have to have them separate? I'm just curious.
No, that is how we would typically handle it. And if you remember, as part of the development agreement, the liquor licenses were included in that, so they wouldn't have to come back for, this particular site didn't have to come back for the separate waiver, but that was just the Class C license that was included. The SDM was not, so that's something they're seeking afterwards. What we're seeing a lot is of these SDM licenses it's become somewhat of a trend where they're established restaurants or new businesses are seen as something as addition that they want, that they weren't previously pursuing. So going forward, typically we would have, if a new restaurant is coming forward getting their liquor license, we'd have them apply at the same time. A lot of these just just been things that they applied at one time and then realized that they want it in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Joes. Any other questions for staff? No? Okay. The petitioner, I believe, is in our audience. Representative, good evening, Mr. Howe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Patrick Howe, JP Howe PLLC, representing Fogo de Chao. Good to be with you again. As stated by staff, this is a trend. We need a waiver use approval for beer, wine takeout. It's a full-service Brazilian steakhouse. They have over 75 in the country. This is their second one in Michigan. The other one's in Troy. This is just an accessory use to the dining experience. If you want to take a bottle of wine to go, this license is required, and under your ordinance, a waiver is required under the standards. So we don't believe this will have any negative impact on the surrounding area. It fits in with their operation, which is permitted under the zoning ordinance, and ask for your approval tonight. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Ms. DeNaro.
Can you walk me through your carding process if somebody's ordering and what your process is for third-party ordering apps?
Sure, two totally separate processes. So the on-site is usually 40 and under, anyone's carded. They appear to be 40 and under. All servers are TIPS, TAM, ServSafe, certified by a state of Michigan approved course. And it has to be a legitimate identification that's provided. So it's not, driver's license, passport, those are legitimate out-of-state licenses, et cetera. And it's really no tolerance policy. So, one strike and you're out for a server. But overall, they have an excellent operating record in the state of Michigan and nationally, and follow all local laws and ordinances. As far as the to-go process, that's a third-party facilitator service that they may engage, DoorDash, Grubhub, et cetera. Once the sale is completed on site, the responsibility for carding shifts to that licensee as a separate service provided by the state, licensed by the state of Michigan, and they must follow the same procedure. So Fogo de Chao or others, they engage with third parties, and that third party is responsible for carding. So with this situation, it's really a higher end, on-premise dining experience. So I don't think there's really much activity at this stage for third-party delivery services. It's really an on-site amenity for a customer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. DeNaro. Any other questions for the petitioner?
Chairman.
Mr. Ventura.
Good evening. Can you tell us whether or not if a customer comes in and sits down and has a bottle of wine and they don't finish it, can they then cork that wine and take it with them?
They can, yes. There's probably 15, 20 years ago, Michigan passed a cork and go law. And so there's a process under state law in which the cork has to be reinserted into the bottle at the level of the glass. And it's either given in a paper bag or some type of bag to the customer to leave with them to go.
All right, and so the license that you seek tonight would allow them to purchase a separate unopened bottle and take that as well?
Correct, yeah, or to go order. If you come in and you have a big catering order or something, like to order 6 bottles of wine for a community function or something, they can realize that sale as opposed to picking up the food from the restaurant and then having to go across the street to buy the wine.
Can you tell us how significant an addition this is to your business? In other words, what percentage of your clients do you anticipate, based on your other open restaurants, are actually going to take advantage of this?
I'd say it's very low, but it's an expectation. So I don't think it'll really be, a large part at all, but it's the customer's expectation at this type of restaurant in today's day and age that they can purchase a bottle of wine to go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Ventura. Any other questions for the petitioner?
Mr. Chair, I've got one.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Sir, can we go back to the carryout
Sure.
process? When someone orders a carryout, they order a steak or whatever you serve, and they want a bottle of wine. Who pays for that at that time? Does the person ordering it pay for it, or does the Grubhub person pay for that? How does that work?
So if you're purchasing it in person, you pay for it there. So you don't pay for it over the phone. The sale's completed on site.
Right.
So that's me going into the restaurant, takeout order. Here's my credit
Understood.
card to go. The third-party services on your phone. The credit card information is uploaded to the app, sort of put in limbo. when the person goes and presents identification that they're, when the driver goes to pick up the order, the sale is then completed. And that's completed subject to confirming for the alcohol that the person receiving it at their home or business is 21. And that they have to take a copy of the driver's license that's uploaded to a system, and there's a whole process for that.
So they really don't know until they get to that person's home whether the person that ordered the bottle of wine is 21. They don't even know that until they get to the house, huh?
Yeah, I mean, the product that's regulated cannot be delivered to anyone under 21 by the service.
What if the Grubhub driver is 18 years old? How does that work?
I don't know their policy, if it's 18 and up or otherwise. I believe it's 21 and over. I don't represent them. But they have to follow state law, and if they show up to someone's house and they're not 21, they return the product.
And you have return policy pretty standard, bring it back and you refund the money?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I've got another question.
Yeah.
Do you serve any house brand alcohol? Like, there's a wine shop down the street, they've got their own brand of wine. Do you serve any house brand or branded Fogo de Chao wine or anything like that?
I'm not aware of that. I've been involved with those contract or licensing arrangements. I'm not aware of their own type of house brand wine. If it is, it's just a naming thing. So on the back of the bottle, you'll see the manufacturer. On the front of the bottle, you'll see the restaurant. It's prohibited for a restaurant to manufacture wine, actually.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caremagno. Any other questions? Mr. Howe is definitely an expert in Michigan liquor laws and is always a good asset for that.
thank you. It's been 20 years, and I've been in front of you quite a bit, so I appreciate it. It's a great relationship.
Certainly. I do have one question that's not directly related to the alcohol license, but Fogo de Chao's kind of main dining arrangement is this sort of never-ending supply of food that keeps coming to you. Put a little flag up at your table, and they come. And if someone's buying food to go, how do they do that? Do they just keep putting the flag up, and the Grubhub driver has to keep going back and forth?
I don't
or
think
what?
that's available for to go.
Okay.
It's like going up to the buffet one last time for the to go. I don't think that'll fly. But no, it's a huge menu. So
One-time shot.
yeah, it's a huge menu.
All right.
So to go, it's keeps on growing. So you can get anything to go now.
That's interesting because this is certainly the kind of dining model that I don't expect there to be a lot of to-go orders.
No.
Because it's sort of it's an event to go there and eat.
It is, and it's really the larger parties, the catering and that type of order.
That makes
It's,
sense. Okay, all right, good. Any other questions from my colleagues? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this item? We have one person. Good evening.
Jim Bigga, Livonia, Michigan. With regard to the third-party surfing, the Grubhubs and DoorDashes, if I'm not mistaken, with Fleming's and the other steakhouse that I can't remember, Outback, the restriction was that no third parties could be sold because they weren't checking the fact that the delivery recipient was going to be 21. So both Fleming's and Outback said they weren't going to be having liquor sold to those drivers. I don't understand why all of a sudden we would possibly having this here for this particular outlet when the other two said they weren't going to be doing it and that they weren't trusting the fact that somebody could have false information and trusting an 18 or 21-year-old driver who isn't trained by the state of Michigan rules and, one and out like the servers at the restaurant, I don't think is a fair way to trust everybody. And once everybody knows that they can violate the rules, they'll start ordering. And I think we have to be very careful about that. So I hope you apply the same rationale that you use with the other two restaurants with this particular one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bega. Any other questions or comments? I will note on that particular subject matter that those were voluntary limitations that those particular petitioners offered to that was their choice. It wasn't necessarily a restriction that we placed upon them. So I just want to at least note that. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on this item? If not, Mr. Howe, is there anything else you'd like to say?
I would just say, as far as to that comment, I don't think that's, it's really, ordinance hasn't really caught up to that. So, we're just talking about sale of beer and wine to go from this restaurant. And, this licensee follows the law to the T. And, to that point, the third-party facilitators are regulated. They have to renew their license every year. I've licensed those services in the past. And they all have to go through the same server training. So, there could be a perception that it's a 18-year-old kid, but if they're following the law, they have to take the same training courses as the on-premise servers. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. If there's no other comments or questions, I'm going to close the public hearing and a motion would be in order.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Bonjero.
make an approving resolution that the request to utilize an SDM liquor license allows a business license to sell at retail beer, wine, and mixed spirit drink products in the original package for consumption off the premises in connection with the proposed restaurant operation Fogo de Chao at 39,000 6 Mile Road is hereby approved for the following reasons, subject to the city council approval and following conditions. Number one, that the subject site has the capacity to accommodate the proposed use. Number two, that the use of an SDM liquor license will complement the existing use of the subject property and will provide an additional service to customers. And three, the waiver approval is limited to this applicant, can only be transferred to another user with approval by the city council.
Is there support?
Support.
We have a motion made by Mr. Bonjero, supported by Ms. DeNaro. Are there any questions on the motion or discussion? Mr. Uhazy, I do have one question. It's a real minor thing, but I want to just make sure our I's are dotted and T's are crossed. The agenda says that the address is 38888 6 Mile, and our approving resolution says 39,000 6 Mile. Is there a reason that
I
these-
believe the addresses were, like, that was the part of the overall address, and now the actual address for the particular restaurant.
Okay, so 39,000, which is in the approving resolution, is correct?
Was it
Or 38888? I just want to make sure we're giving this
Seems
the
like
right address.
888 would seem like.
I think
the-
888.
No, it's not, that's not right. 38888
Stuff in the
is
updates.
Buca de Beppo.
39,
39, this is 39,000.
is the correct address.
The engineering letter says that too.
Okay, so the agenda was the only thing that had the incorrect address. Okay.
Yes.
All right, just want to make sure that we are clarifying and making sure that this is getting approved to the right place. All right, that's my only question. Anybody have anything else? If not, we have a motion to approve, again by Bonjero, DeNaro. If the secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mr. Bonjero.
Aye.
Mrs. DeNaro.
Aye.
Mr. Droz.
Aye.
Mr. Ventura.
Aye.
Caremagna votes aye. Chairman Wilshaw.
Votes aye, motion passes. That'll go to City Council and approving recommendation. Thank you for coming this evening. Next, we go on to item number 3.
Petition 2026-07-02-19, submitted by Hands of Time, requesting waiver use approval pursuant to sections 3.11 and 6.53 of the Livonia zoning ordinance to operate a secondhand store at 19704 Middlebelt Road, located at the northeast corner of Middlebelt Road and St. Martin Street in the southwest quarter of Section 1.
Thank you, sir. This is a waiver use approval. Mr. Uhazy.
Thank you. Yes, this is a request to operate a secondhand retail establishment within an existing commercial suite. The L-shaped parcel is located at the northeast corner of Middlebelt and St. Martin's Road. The current zoning is split zone, so it is zoned C2 to the north, and there's the lower sliver, which is C1. Excuse me, that it's not presenting for some reason.
Poor people at home have to watch us instead.
I think it's transferring over now.
There we go.
The petition parcel is just under an acre in size with 120 feet of frontage on, is just under an acre in size. The existing building is divided into 2 tenant spaces, with the northern space being the Subway restaurant, existing Subway restaurant. The surrounding uses are to the west is a commercial, to the west is RUF property. To the south is another split-zoned C2 and C1 property. To the north is zoned C2, and to the east is C2 and C1 as well. The under section 6.53 of the zoning ordinance allows secondhand and consignment uses with a waivered use approval in the C2 district. One of the stipulations of that section of the ordinance is that there is no outside storage allowed, and there has been none present on this site. The proposal is for the Hands of Time to lease and occupy the southern portion of the building, consisting of about 5,400 square feet. Parking requirements for this would be 1 space per 150 feet of square footage. This would require 29 spaces in total. The site plan shows 38 spaces, 2 of which are barrier-free. Access to the site is provided off of Middle Belt Road, and there's a second access to St. Martin's is available around the rear by heading south through the connecting parcel. There is an existing dumpster without an enclosure located at the rear of the building. With that, Mr. Chair, is all I have, but I also have some correspondence I can read as well.
Sure, if you can read that for us, thank you.
From the Engineering Division. In accordance with your request, the Engineering Division has reviewed the above referenced petition. We have no objections to the proposed waiver use at this time, but would like to note the following items. 1, the subject parcel is assigned the address of 19704 Middle Belt Road. 2, the existing parcel is currently serviced by public sanitary sewer and water main, as well as private storm sewer. There is no mention of utility revisions with the proposal, so we do not believe there will be any adverse effects on the existing systems based on the proposed use. 3, should revisions to utility services to the building or any work within the Middle Belt right-of-way be required, the owner will need to submit drawings to the Wayne County Department of Public Works for permitting. From the Fire Department. The office has reviewed the site plan submitted in connection with the modification and use of the property located at the above referenced address. Final official plan set submitted for review shall detail interior of the occupancy, shall include but not limited to exits, separations such as walls, any mechanical or electrical rooms, restrooms, general layout of merchandise so that the aisleways for egress can be evaluated, is occupancy sprinkled, locations of emergency lighting, locations of fire extinguishers. A further detailed plan review will take place when the division receives an official plan set. Signed, Brian Kukula, Fire Marshal. From the Police Department, I've reviewed the plans in connection with the petition. I have no objections to the proposal. Signed, Brendan Adams, Traffic Bureau. From the Inspection Department, pursuant to your request, the above referenced petition has been reviewed. 1, the parking lot at the rear of the building is in disrepair and shall be repaired and or replaced where necessary. Parking spaces shall be 10 feet wide, 20 feet deep, and double striped. 2, barrier-free parking spaces are required to meet the ICC A117.1-2017 standard. A van-accessible parking space is required as well. The car accessible parking space shall be a minimum of 8 feet wide with a 5-foot hashed access aisle adjacent to it, and a fan accessible space shall be 11 feet wide with a 5-foot hashed access aisle adjacent to it. They shall be properly sized, signed, and striped. This department has no further objections to the petition. Signed, Jerome Hanna, Director of Inspection. from the Finance Department. I have reviewed the address connected with the above noted petition. The following amounts are due to the city of Livonia. Unpaid water and sewer charges of $244.91. I also have a receipt that shows that they did pay on July 28th, so they are up to date on their bills. And then finally, from the city treasurer, the owner of the property is current on their property tax. Signed, Susan Nash, city treasurer.
All right, thank you, Mr. Uhazy. Is there any questions for staff?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Ventura?
Mr. Usazi, this petition comes to us as a result of ordinance enforcement activity on the part of the inspection
Correct.
department. This is really a business that's been operating in this location for a number of years. Is that true?
I don't know about a number of years, but it has been operating at this location without knowing that they need to go through the waiver use process.
And to your knowledge, has it created any kind of a problem by being there?
There have been no issues with inspection. They were out there for their certificate of occupancy, I believe, not for any violations.
For any violation?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Ventura. Any other questions for staff?
Mr. Chair.
Sure, Mr. Bonjero.
So, Mr. Ozzie, so based on the outcome tonight, like, there's no dumpster enclosure, is that gonna be enforced? Is there gonna be permits pulled? I mean, do we know if it's been renovated?
Well, the exterior is not being renovated. Nothing on the exterior is changing.
Inside, whatever.
The inside, they did not provide any, they did not note any major renovations. The dumpster is something that we could, as a waiver use, put that condition on there. Same thing with the resurfacing of the drive and parking areas.
Okay. Because I went there, I missed the study session, I go there and they're already in there, and I was, we see that once in a while.
Yes, that is something that they've, inspection, especially with these consignment shops, we've had a number in recently, that they seem to be finding that, I don't want to say fell through the crack, but the owner was operating and they just didn't know they needed one. It wasn't previously enforced as stingently as it is now.
Okay, I see a dumpster back there, but I think that's for Subway, from what I could tell, but there's no enclosure at all.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Bonjero. Any other questions for staff? Okay. The petitioner is here, I believe. Feel free to come forward to our podium. Hi, good evening, ma'am.
Hi, Megan Lewis, 192-621 Flamingo.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. What would you like to tell us about your business?
So yes, we've only been operating since February, very softly opening, honestly, until inspection told us that we needed to get a waiver use. It was zoned for retail, so we didn't realize there was a separation from secondhand and retail, because it's technically still, we're selling retail goods and services. So that's why we're here. We're here to make sure we go through the proper channels. The owner of the property is also here regarding the parking spots and things like that and enclosures. I'm sure he can answer questions on that. We aren't going to do any renovations inside yet. We kind of wanted to get through this process, see how it worked out, and go from there.
Okay. Very good. Well, let me see if there's any questions for you first.
Okay.
Since you're up here. Any questions for Ms. Lewis about her business?
Mr. Chair,
Sure, Mr. Bonjero.
what do you currently do for, like, your trash?
We use the priority waste dumpster in the back.
There's like one, is that, you share it with?
I share it with the liquors. He owns the whole complex.
Not Subway,
No, Subway has their own, and Tacos 22 has their own as well.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
see that's in an enclosure.
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
And we typically, we don't have too much trash. I mean, once a week, I'm getting trash out for the most part. Obviously, the idea is to be busier,
Yeah.
but we wanted to go through this process before we did anything major and hired and all that. We're basically, I own a estate sale company as well. So we are gonna take on consignments for people that can't have sales, or a lot of older folks that only need to get rid of one or two pieces. They're not fully downsizing. That was a purpose for us to open. We used to actually operate on Stark Road, but it was warehouse space. It wasn't zoned for retail at all. So we couldn't really do anything. It was more of storage. So we wanted to find a place that we could actually operate because we were getting larger amounts of people wanting us to help. And we just want to keep stuff out of landfills as well.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Bonjero. Any other questions for this petitioner? Mr. Droz?
Mr. Chair, thank you. Given that you're open, and you mentioned you're not quite as busy as you want to be,
Right.
but just out of curiosity, there's an estimation of how many parking spaces you would need. Do you ever feel like you're close to that? Does it ever get tight there?
No, not really. I've talked with Tacos 22 because I feel like a lot of their customers park over here on our side. And obviously, once we get through this process and moving, and I want to do like a grand opening and kind of thing like that, then they would reinforce parking, probably some signs that this is parking only for this shop.
Okay. And where I guess I'm going with my question is, if the parking lot does get restriped or improved as part of this process, it
Yeah.
looks like there are some kind of, I'll say, inefficiencies in the layout. And so if that gets redone, maybe there's like a space in the far northeast corner that really doesn't seem all that accessible. So if you could afford to lose a space or two, that might help with overall flow.
Okay.
But just kind of knowing what you're seeing out there on the ground is helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, right now I think we'll be fine. And like Subway, there's certain times where they're the busiest, lunchtime obviously, and then usually dinner time. And we plan on to operate Wednesday through Sunday. Tacos is closed on Sundays, so that'd be kind of cool. We'll have some balance in parking.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Droz. Any other questions for this petitioner? Does anybody have any questions for the landlord in regards to this property?
Oh, yes.
We do. Well, we'll need to get this gentleman to come up. It sounds like Mr. Caremagno is going to have the floor.
Well, I certainly got some questions. I mean,
Sure.
I didn't look at this property before our study session, and there were some comments about your property and how it's maintained. So I went over there a few days afterwards, and yeah, they meaning this panel was absolutely right. It was embarrassing looking.
Yeah, we had
What are your plans?
landscaping person who wasn't doing a good job, so finally finding somebody else. He went back and took care of everything. And in the back, normally I'll take care of it, whatever's going on, weed, and try to keep it clean as much as possible.
Okay, it's
Try to do it in the front, and try to put some flowers, some mulch, make it look a little better. Where's the sign at?
yeah, I understand the landscaping and the weeds, but how does something get this bad?
I purchased a
with you as an
building.
owner, how's it get this bad in the city with you as an owner, that the striping's gone, the weeds are grown?
Stripes, I did it, I think it was last year. I did it the seal and stripes.
You striped that last year?
Yeah, it was last year or year before, I believe. Normally, it's good for 4 years at least. But stripes, I can go back and do it again. It's not a big deal. I can hire somebody to do it.
That's certainly going to be part of the equation here. The other question I've got is, you may have taken care of some of these things, but the paddle boat out back in the grass, what's that? Is there a lake back there I'm missing or something?
And I have no idea. I have to look at it. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's what I would suggest. I would suggest you look at the property a little more often, because.
I'm sorry. You know what? I'm bleeding.
What happened to you?
I think, I don't know, my nose. Oh, no, thank you. It didn't happen. Anyway, I'm okay. I could deal with it. I'm okay, so I could take it. Thank you.
Do you need to take a break? You'll be all right?
I'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, sorry that your nose is bleeding, but this property needs some attention. I think you need to pay some serious attention to this property. You've got a tenant, you've got the building looks full now. And then the other question I've got is, are you opposed to building a rubbish enclosure back?
I'm sorry?
Are you opposed to building a rubbish enclosure out back for your dumpster?
I have one. Nobody asked for it. I mean, Subway's been there forever. There was no closure for it. And the taco next door, I mean, they just brought their dumpster. And mine, I have it on the party store. I have the closure for it.
Well, for this property, I'd like to see that. I'm just telling you what I'd like to see. Whether it goes through or not, I don't know. And then that pylon sign you have out front, is that utilized, or is that just a blank pylon sign in front with nothing on it anymore?
What is that one? I don't know.
So it would be the sign that's right at the front of the building on a pole.
Oh, the yellow sign?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't do anything with that, that's been there, so.
Yeah.
From what,
Ma'am,
inspection told me.
if you can come forward, just because we do have a TV audience, they can't hear you. I'll give your landlord a break, too. Thank you.
He did go to the doctor today for that. So from what I heard from inspection is that that tall sign is grandfathered in because it has been there for so long. But if I wanted to do anything with it, which I would like to at some point, then we would probably have to get a new one that's lower, because that's your guys' new ordinance is
Yeah, that's
only
right.
6 feet off the ground. So obviously we haven't crossed that bridge yet, but that has always been there way before I was even around.
Yeah, I understand that, but that's something else. It's just a concern of mine. When I see the level of care with this property,
Yeah,
and I'd like to see you be successful.
I appreciate
Very
that.
successful. But the property doesn't want to attract people to come there. It just looks like hell, to be honest with you. So
Okay.
I'm going to make a few conditions on whatever we do here.
I did add some plants to my front door area and all of my, like all the weeds and all of Subway. We took care of that as well.
Looking forward to seeing
Alrighty.
it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
One
Mr.
thing I'd like to add, it does look like when the original building was approved, it does appear that there was a dumpster enclosure with walls required in the site plan.
So I just slipped through the cracks, I guess. All right, we'll have to talk about that. Does anybody else have any questions? Mr. Droz?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One other thing, just looking at the building and kind of recognizing that there are some things that may have changed a little bit over time. It's not evident just looking back at, we got about almost 20 years of Google Street View now to see, but it doesn't look like there's ever been any sort of light poles in the parking lot. But if you look at the building, you can definitely tell the LEDs are pretty well trained in going into the right of way. So that's just something, maybe if as part of the ordinance inspection, if they can look at that, because I know that's one of the things we try to, control if we can, so we're not, flooding the right of way with lighting from the top of the buildings.
That is a good observation, and yes, Google Maps is very helpful for looking at history. Any other questions, comments from my colleagues? If not, is there anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on this item, for or against? I don't see anybody jumping up. If there's no other discussion, I am going to close the public hearing, and a motion is in order.
So I'd like to offer an approving resolution that the request for a waiver use to operate a secondhand store at 19704 Middlebelt Road is hereby approved for the following reasons, subject to city council approval and the following conditions. 1, there shall be no outdoor sales, storage, or display of merchandise. 2, this waiver approval is limited to this applicant and can only be transferred to another user with approval by the city council. And then we're also going to add the parking lot issues to this, and then the dumpster enclosure. Is there anything else I missed?
Do you like the pylon sign?
I mean, we can add it. I'm indifferent
That
about it.
pylon sign has Subway on it, too.
Does it have a Subway sign on it?
Yeah, I was just looking at it.
Okay, then maybe not then. It's just, I mean, okay. it's
Yeah,
not-
when we have opportunities.
So we're not
get
going to
our
touch that right now.
Fine.
All right. So we have the addition of parking lot repairs, dumpster enclosure for the dumpster. Anything else from anyone we missed? Is there support for this
Support.
motion? All right, this is made by DeNaro, supported by Caremagno. Any discussion on the motion? If there's no
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
did we add the requirement for the maintenance of landscaping?
Maintenance of landscaping, yes.
Yep,
Is
happy
the
to add
maker okay
that.
with
Yep.
Sure.
Supporters all right with that, so thank you, Mr. Ventura. Is there anything else? If not, if the secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mrs. DeNaro.
Aye.
Caremagna votes aye. Mr. Bonjero.
Aye.
Mr. Droz.
Aye.
Mr. Ventura.
Aye.
Chairman Wilshaw.
Votes aye. Motion passes. We'll go to city council with an approving recommendation. Good luck with your business. Thank you. Certainly. Next, we have item number 4.
Item number 4, petition 2026-01-07-01 submitted by the City Planning Commission requesting to amend the Livonia Vision 21 Master Plan and adopt Book 5, Housing Sustainability pursuant to Michigan Public Act 33 of the 2008 Public Enabling Act as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Uhazig.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is the proposed amendment that would add Book 5 to the Livonia Vision 21. The process was initiated in 2024 through a $50,000 housing readiness incentive grant from the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. In September of 2024, the council approved the grant funding and retained McKenna to draft the plan amendment. The process was guided by a steering committee consisting of 2 council representatives, 2 planning commission members, representatives from the Housing Commission, including its director, and 1 member of the Brownfield Authority. Book 5 is a plan to help address the city's housing needs and adopt the land use policies that increase housing supply and affordability. The plan is a required element of the Michigan Planning Enabling Act, which was amended in 2024 to include housing as a core provision of a community master plan. Similar to the original Livonia Vision 21 master plan process, the creation of the housing sustainability plan involved community engagement, including a website, opinion surveys, and open house. The plan examines Livonia housing community or housing profile using multiple key metrics, including population trends, age demographic, employment, household size, income, home ownership, education, affordability, occupancy, supply, and demand. The proposed plan includes a housing strategy section that identifies funding, opportunities, and priority housing redevelopment sites. This also includes goals, objectives, and implementation plan. But we also, as I mentioned, retain McKenna, and I would think their associate, Mr. Smith, would like to speak on this as well and provide some more, fill in more of the blanks.
Thank you, Mr. Uhazy. And I do want to note, just for folks in our audience, that there is some blood on this podium, so I would just suggest that people use this podium for now, just for safety's sake. Good evening, Mr. Smith.
Good evening. All right. Thank you again. My name is Donovan Smith, a project manager for the master plan update or amendment for the city of Livonia. And I do want to thank Mr. Uhazy. He did a great overview of the project. So we are here at the final stage. We did release the plan to the public where we solicited comment. I'm sorry, I don't believe we received any public comment. So what we do have before you is an approving resolution to adopt the master plan amendment. But if you do have any direct questions, I'm here to answer those. Otherwise, you have the resolution with you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there any questions from any of my colleagues?
I have a question.
Sure, Mr. Naro.
So we received 0 public comment. How did we publish it? How did we request public comment?
Did you want to answer that one, or?
You could take it.
So we released the plan online. I believe we put a copy also in the library, and then we did send out notices to our regional communities and agencies, and then it was made available online.
What does regional communities and agencies mean?
So a part of the requirement of the state legislation is that you notify all of your adjacent, all of your adjacent communities So all of your neighboring communities were notified that you were adopting an amendment to a master plan, as well as like SEMCOG, MDOT, the kind of regional agencies as well.
Okay, and we got 0 public comment.
I did not receive any comment, no.
That's really difficult. It's going to be very difficult for me to vote on this with 0 public comment, because that tells me that no one has seen it. So I'm not confident that this was adequately distributed to our community.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Naro. Is there any other questions or comments for Mr. Smith?
Mr. Wilshaw?
Mr. Ventura?
Mr. Smith, just a follow-up question along the lines of Mr. Naro. So you're telling us that there was no mailing or any attempt to notify the citizens of the city, other than these public ways, of the change that you're proposing we adopt here tonight?
That is correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you, Mr. Uhazy.
I would like to reiterate that we did go through an extensive public engagement period prior to that. It was released, City Council did approve it for release of public comment, so it has been in front of City Council, and we've had the public-facing website where in 1 or 2 open houses where we did engage with the public extensively. It's just that since council has approved it for an official public comment, we have not received any of that 45-day statute required 45-day comment period. So we were following the statute, and the notifications required under that. But it's not that we have not engaged with the public from the beginning. It's just this final portion, we have not received any additional public comment.
Can you talk through a little bit more about what public engagement looked like?
Yes.
And I can also add to that, we did an open house April 25th, 2025. That had about 40 attendees, and that was held next door at the library. We did also hold a survey, a community survey, that received 600 responses. And all of those responses are included in the back of the master plan, so the full result lists are included in those. And then any comments, where we were able to apply them into the plan, we did migrate those into the document.
Thank you.
Mr. Uhazy, did you cover everything you needed?
Yes, I think so. And I mean, it's hard to see, but I'm able to flip through. Like they did summarize all the comments we received in the report from the previous public engagements. And as I mentioned in the little intro, this is the same exact process that in notification requirements that we followed with the original master plan adoption.
Right, which is that there are situations, where we have, obviously, we want to publicly announce these things, and we do that through posting in publications and on the board outside, things like that. Just like any other public meeting or process would follow. The fact that we didn't receive any comments is not because we didn't follow the process, it's just that there was no comments received, and no one felt engaged enough to reply. It's not a situation where we send a postcard to every homeowner in the city asking for their comments. There is a public process that we follow, though. Although I do certainly understand Mr. Naro's concern about the fact that there's 0 comments. That is unusual. So I have a feeling there will be a few made today, though, so we'll see what happens. Which is good, because there's folks here that want to hopefully get engaged in the process. Does anybody else on the panel have any questions? Mr. Jones?
Mr. Chair, if I could, I think what we've explained so far is that there was engagement on the front end that was used to form the document, and that's typical of a planning process, is you go to the community and present a lot of information and gather that feedback, and then try to collate that into a plan. But when this came to us back in October, November timeframe, I think we looked at it, and you look at it on the whole body of the report. And I think a lot of us had a lot of questions about it, and then questions about how this actually gets implemented and brought into our city process. And so, the engagement of the final product, I think, is important too. And, the reality is we don't have the Observer anymore. Media is different. And, I think a lot of us are fairly active, with monitoring social media. I personally can't say I saw it anywhere. So I do think it's one thing to put a link on the website. It's another thing to actually push it out to the community to solicit that feedback. It's different than it was, probably when this plan was generated, 5 or 6 years ago. So I think, as Mr. Narrow said, it's surprising to not see anything, especially this day and age.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Thank you for those comments. Any other questions, comments from anyone?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Ventura.
Mr. Smith, can you tell us, give us an overview of the kinds of changes that this Book 5 will bring to housing stock in Livonia, or affect existing housing stock?
Yes. So your original Vision 2021 plan was drafted the end of 2019, early 2020, kind of peak COVID. So while it is a good plan, it has 2020 census data as well as demographic and background data from 2019-2020 American Census Survey. So one, this document gives you as current data as we have at the time of drafting. So I believe you do have 2025 ACS data in that draft plan. So you get an updated data set for the plan. In addition to, your previous plans did not have the level of housing background data as this plan does. In November 2021, there was an amendment to the Planning and Zoning Enabling Act that required that master plans now have housing sections. So your previous plan did not have that housing section. So this adds the new statutory requirement for housing into your master plan. Additionally, because that was not in your previous plan, it did not have an implementation and zoning plan specific to housing, which is what is included in this plan. And then in addition to, you have various observations as relates to housing. So your levels of housing affordability, where that income band is, the updated value of housing, the income as it relates to housing. So a lot of very housing specific data is included in this plan that was not in your previous. And then where there are opportunities for improvement related to housing, this plan identifies those. For example, your existing deed restricted and affordable housing developments. So that would be like Newburgh Village, Bashir Towers, I believe, those that offer senior housing or affordable housing. One of the objectives is the plan is to maintain those, because as those were developed 20 plus years ago, those deed restrictions are expiring. So it identifies that you want to maintain those affordable housing units as they exist, but it does not say you need to increase the number of affordable housing units, more so maintain the ones that you currently have. In addition, it highlights the need for market rate housing in various forms, larger housing units based on changing household sizes here in Livonia, and then the kind of strategy that wraps everything into one is the priority development sites. So that's Laurel Park, the Sierra site. We looked at those and identified conceptual plans on how you can use those sites to meet some of the housing goals here in Livonia, which are to develop market rate housing where applicable, but also redevelop those sites to be destinations as well as mixed-use experiences, and how that can be translated into improvements and changes to your zoning ordinance to allow those types of developments. So all of that together comprises your housing strategy, which is maintain your existing affordable units where they are, promote and preserve your existing aging housing. I forgot to mention your existing housing as it is aging, redevelop those priority sites into market rate and mixed use developments, and then update your zoning ordinance to allow all of those things to take place.
Thank you. However, I was the chairman of the Master Plan Committee in 2000 when we did it. I also served on the committee that considered this amendment, this addition. And I didn't hear anything in your answer that told me how it's going to change existing housing stock, existing zoning, or more importantly, how it's going to help provide more affordable housing. When I was on the committee that considered this amendment, I took the time, and I happen to be in the real estate business, so I had the resources to do this. I took the time to look at the housing stock that exists in the city of Livonia between the eastern and western boundaries of the city, south of Plymouth Road. And I found that there was plenty of housing down there available at way under $300,000, many of them selling for less than $200,000. I don't know that it gets more affordable than that. And this is existing housing. These are nice neighborhoods. These are well-maintained homes. Yes, they're smaller homes, and yes, they're on smaller lots. But there's no lack of pride of ownership down there. This is part of our community. And as Mr. Bonjero can testify better than I, you can't replace those houses down there for an affordable, quote-unquote, price. You can't build that house today for the prices that they're being sold for. And so, to Mr. Narrow's point, I'm not sure what we're accomplishing here. I'm not sure we're accomplishing anything. We can't, we can't run around and give people money to go buy a house at today's market prices, at today's mortgage rates. So unless we're materially changing or changing in some fundamental way our ability to produce housing in this community at prices that people can afford today, which I'm certain is a economic impossibility, I don't understand what we're going to approve here. I don't understand why we'd approve this. And I appreciate, I know how hard you've worked on this, I know how long you've worked on this, but I don't know how you fix it, a situation that's essentially beyond your control. This report sounds nice, okay, but I'm not sure that it changes a thing for a young person or a young family trying to find a home to live in and to put their family in this community. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Ventura. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Smith? Or for the rest of our colleagues?
Mr. Chair, I do have a question.
Sure,
Let's just go back to the zero feedback. You've done this in other communities, haven't you?
Yes.
What kind of feedback have you had in the final stage in other communities?
It is in most plans that I've done, during the 45-day public comment period where you receive written comment primarily, I don't recall receiving any written comment. Maybe one or two, but it's usually not a opportunity most residents take advantage of. However, the public hearing, which is this event, is typically where you see the most response from residents. It is not abnormal, at least from what I've seen, and I've done a handful of master plans in various communities. It is not abnormal to not receive written comment during your 45-day period.
So this is not different than any other community that you've seen as far as the comment back. Is it different from the publication of the opportunity to speak on it here versus any other community you've worked in?
I think it's in part what was brought up, just how people use the internet and access to information. All communities follow the Planning and Zoning Enabling Act as it relates to master plan adoption. There is not a requirement for a mass mailing outside of the posted public hearings, the various meetings to get the information released to the public, and any announcement that the administration makes that this is going on. That's pretty standard across.
Is it possible that this plan is confusing enough or not detailed enough or a wish list enough that people just don't understand it and can't really follow. But let's just say, like what Pete was talking about, there's affordable homes in this community from A to Z, whether it's young folks, old folks, pricing ranges, quality of properties. Is it really something there that's going to make a difference and force a change? How does this force a change or even recommend a change to the community? How does it do that?
Yes, so if I could just take a half step back.
Go.
This program or grant was initiated by MISTA. And MISTA, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, they created their statewide housing plan. And the objective was to address housing affordability, housing stock, and diversity across the state. And the intention behind that was to address affordability. It is a multi-pronged approach. So by addressing supply, you can address affordability by addressing diversity and addressing your housing stock. These various things together can influence the affordability across the band, across your community. What this plan does is it identifies opportunities to address all of those things in their own respective right. So as it relates to housing stock, it talks about the current age of housing, the stages of aging, and how the impacts of aging housing on affordability. As houses become older, maintenance and other things start to weigh in, which increase affordability. So one of those strategies is to address your existing housing stock by developing programs or policies that identify funds to support aging housing. But then you also have the other aspects of it where if you do have aging housing, you need alternative housing if people want to move because that house. So there are other opportunities where it was mentioned you have existing other homes that may be affordable, and that is good for that portion of your housing stock. Then you have other aspects of your housing stock, such as those affordable units. You want to maintain those because if those expire, then those residents that are receiving the benefit of affordable housing have to leave because those existing developments can go to market rate. So those strategies speak to how to maintain and improve your existing stock to counteract those challenges that come with those various aspects. When you look at housing diversity and supply, the plan uses those conceptual sites at Laurel Park and Sears site to envision ways to increase the diversity of housing and have mixed income housing, so there are other options for affordability that are not strictly low income or strictly those very high-end apartments that may price others out. So it gives you a range of affordability rather than saying just build this one series of housing or just build 5-story apartment buildings. There are other housing types that can address the overall need for affordability as it exists across the band. So while, yes, you do have housing that is available at $250,000, you also have residents that don't make that level of income that need housing at a different band of the scale. And then you also have residents at a higher end of the scale where they may want more expensive housing, but you have a low supply of that, or you have a higher. So there are various levels of income that reflect affordability. And the plan, I think the plan does a successful job of identifying where those bands are and where the gaps are on your existing housing.
So how does that make something happen? Do you think the developers look at this and say, hey, look, there's an opportunity for lower end homes in Livonia? How do you think this makes something happen down the road?
So the bulk of Livonia is built out. So
What's that?
the bulk of Livonia is built out.
Of course it is, yes.
So your opportunities for new single-family housing are pretty low. Your opportunities for a lot of infill housing where there aren't a lot of vacant infill, you have some, but not, other communities, Detroit, for example, there's a lot more opportunity for single-family housing. Where the plan identifies opportunity for housing is those private redevelopment sites. The challenge and what the master plan aims to accomplish is by identifying this is an opportunity. And what the plan has to do is allow zoning to allow that opportunity to happen. And if you don't identify that you need a zoning district or you need various adjustments to your zoning regulation, then the developers that are interested in doing those types of projects, they will go to other communities because they don't want to have to go through additional rezonings. They don't want to have to go through variance meetings. They want to open a plan and identify that a community wants to do this type of thing in one way or another. It may vary, but the community identifies that this is something that will benefit them, increasing diversity in housing, and these are sites that have the opportunity to do that. The plan says you need to adjust and amend your zoning to allow these types of development. That is the key component of what master plans do as they relate to planning and zoning. If the planning and zoning does not allow that, then those sites will continue to be undeveloped because the zoning is restrictive. So that is the catalytic opportunity that would allow something to happen. The plan identifies where you can implement diverse housing types, and that these are the various improvements to your zoning ordinance to allow developers to express interest in doing these things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caremagno. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Ventura.
Mr. Chairman, two things that you just mentioned, Mr. Smith. I'd ask you, so you readily acknowledge that no new construction is going to qualify for this new cadre of affordable housing?
Not that no new construction could qualify.
No, I'm saying you acknowledge that the economics of the situation would not allow new construction to become this affordable housing.
It would be very difficult, yes.
Close enough.
Yes.
Number two, when we were at one of the meetings on considering this, the subject of a practice in other states, and I don't know whether anywhere in this state, was briefly discussed, and I confess I forgot the term that was applied to it, but it basically changed zoning laws so people could rent their garages to people.
Accessory dwelling units.
Say it again.
Accessory dwelling units, yes.
Right. Does this proposal include that?
This proposal does, I believe it does include a recommendation for the consideration of accessory dwelling units as a permitted use within the zoning ordinance.
So if this is voted in, someone could wake up one day and find another family living in the garage next to them.
No, if this is voted in, it simply instructs the planning department, and they can clarify as needed, that this is an ordinance that needs to be developed that would go through the planning commission and ultimately city council. But it does not guarantee that, tomorrow somebody could do that. It just says that as a community, we believe this is something that we should be looking into. And then planning and zoning will identify the necessary regulations to implement that.
So you're telling us that it recommends that this happen. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And to your knowledge, does it require further action on the part of the city to make it happen?
Yes. It requires
what would that action be?
a formal zoning text amendment. So the same process that you would undertake for a zoning map amendment, public hearing, hearings like this, and city council approval, or the development of any ordinance.
So a change in the zoning law, basically.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And then if I may add, the ordinance doesn't specify exactly where. So it doesn't identify that these neighborhoods should have it and these neighborhoods don't. That would be flushed out if it is the desire of this commission during that ordinance development process.
So you're saying that accessory dwelling units, for one thing, you're saying that accessory dwelling units would be a recommendation by this plan, not for the city to consider, it's not going to be enacted by this. And secondly, if we go through the process of enacting that, we could do that for certain zoning types perhaps, and not other zoning types based on lot sizes and other things.
Correct. You have full control over that.
Okay.
And then I would further add, what the plan does is it identifies strategies to address stock diversity and affordability. And a way to address housing stock is through accessory dwelling units. A way to address the diversity of housing options is through accessory dwelling units. And a way to address affordability, if you have family members that want to stay with you, or instead of them going to an apartment, they could live in an ADU. that addresses affordability. So again, it doesn't say do these things immediately. It says these are various strategies that you can implement as a community to address housing stock diversity and affordability.
Okay. Mr. Droz?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this question is probably more for Mr. Yahazi. Just kind of hearing what we're talking about here and what the request tonight is. Going back to the process and how this was presented to council, and I think recalling some of the public comment that was made to council at the time, is it did seem like there was a plan that there would be some public engagement. Now, from my end, it seems like basically passing this to council and then letting public engagement happen at the podiums is probably not overly productive to finalizing a report and getting a document put together. Which if we approve the resolution and send it that way, I guess that's what would happen. And maybe that's one way to do it. But I guess if we were to deny it tonight, could it go back and then basically, I'll say, re-advertise with a more intentional push out to the community to kind of, and I recognize that you guys are under a timeline from a grant perspective, but it is a master plan, and I'm guessing Michigan would have some tolerance to additional community discussion to get it right.
We can certainly request the additional time. That's something that is available to us. I don't, whether they grant it, that's beyond my knowledge scope right now. But one thing I do want to note with your description is that this would be, if you pass it tonight, it would actually go to council just for receive and file.
Okay.
They would not be holding a separate public hearing. This is the public hearing for
So
that.
this is it?
Yes. One thing I do want to note is based off some of the comments that we've heard from the commissioners, is that based off of the previous engagements that we've had discussions with, we did implement some things of, you asked how it changes the development. It does not directly change the ordinance in any way. So like Mr. Smith said, we would not be automatically allowing any new types of developments. It would just be looking at how it would give us more background of what is needed. And based off of that, also, one of the recommendations that we put on here is, tracking, identifying sites that would be ripe for redevelopment. It would tracking the timeframes that developers, like from application to permitting, so that we can find inefficiencies and essentially increase housing stock by making it cheaper for the developer, not wasting as much of their time would be the ultimate goal. Another thing that we looked at would be just tracking the numbers of the investments and permits by year to kind of see where we're going and how it's changing over time. So the big thing that it's recommending as far as like direct action would be identifying ways that we can start tracking information so that in the future we can use that to streamline the process and improve development in the future. So we got to have a place to start from and say, like, here's what we're doing, what's taking so long, what can we do to remove barriers to the development process, and essentially increase efficiency as a way to reduce the cost. We're not offering grants to the developer, but what we can possibly do is say, here are sites that are ripe for redevelopment that you'd have an easy time. You still have to go through the site plan approval process, but it's a site that's been sitting vacant and the city is would likely be open to development. We can say, if it usually takes 4 months for an approval, and we can get that down to 3 months, that's just less cost to the developer. That's where it kind of shaves off the cost, hopefully. It's not a direct infusion in any way, but it's looking at what we do as an organization to improve the outcomes for the community.
Yeah, what I'm hearing, Mr. Uhazy, is obviously we're looking to understand what the action items are, what actionable things come out of this process. And what I'm hearing you say, and I'm kind of gathering from Mr. Smith as well, is one of the things that we could do is in certain areas where we see it being primed for redevelopment into potential mixed use or residential housing, we can create a zone of some sort around that through ordinance that would say, hey, this is, if you want to, if a developer wants to come in here and purchase this property and do that type of development, we can fast track that or incentivize that process in some way to try to encourage that. At the end of the day, we can't make someone redevelop Laurel Park or
Right.
Sears or any other parcel. That's going to be up to that individual property owner that owns that property currently to decide if they want to sell it, what they want to sell it for, and who wants to buy it, and what they want to pay for it. So we play a small cog in the wheel, so to speak, a small piece of the pie in trying to incentivize redevelopment, but we're certainly not in control of it. This is all still private property.
Correct. And this document doesn't change the way we control it. It just makes recommendations of what, based off of what we heard in the public engagements that we did conduct, ways, I should say, gathering the information, first of all, just, this was not a portion, housing was included was touched upon in the original master plan process, but it wasn't a focus area. So this, again, is a lot of just gathering information to say, here's stuff that we didn't do before, and if we were redoing it today, the state of Michigan would require us to do. And it's giving us a starting point to say, now when you're reviewing something like Donovan had mentioned, like the need for higher end developments. If we were to receive a petition for a more multifamily development that increased density but was at a higher end, maybe you guys could use that information to say, I don't like apartments of this type typically, but it is something that I now can say we are in need of. We are not saturated for over or higher end apartments. Who's going to buy these? Who's going to rent these? Who's going to those? Now you can see a more informed decision to say there is a market for those at that cost.
Yeah. I think the one thing that we see when we look at this book, and obviously when this was first presented to us, we sort of turned it on its head and said, hey, we want this looked at again, and we want it modified. And Donovan went back and reworked this very well. And what we have is a book that still ultimately has a lot of good data in it. It has an excellent set of data in there. If there's anybody in the community or anybody that's looking to develop in this community that's looking for housing data, it's a good data set in this book. That's great, but that doesn't do anything. It's just a bunch of numbers, and it might help someone in understanding kind of where the housing stock in this community is, but it's not actionable in any way. So our concern is that we obviously want actionable things as well. We want to make sure that this is actually doing something, moving the ball forward, so to speak. It's not going to move any mountains. I don't sense it's an incremental or small movement, but it's setting that up. The only thing what I'm hearing from a lot of my colleagues, and certainly my feeling is I don't want to just be checking a box. And there's a certain part of this to me that feels like that's kind of what we're doing. Is the state requires we do this, so we're doing it, and we check that box and kind of move on. And that's a waste of money, and it's not very efficient to do that. It satisfies the state, I guess, but I'd like this to be a little bit more substantial than just checking a box, personally. But my question to you, Mr. Uhazy, is we're having a lot of discussion about this tonight. There's going to be, I think, some additional discussion from folks in our audience who are here because they're probably here for this item. At least some of them, and that's going to be wonderful to have that engagement. But I'm feeling a little bit of trepidation signing off on this at this point from some of my colleagues. So my question is, what would be the potential courses of action? Obviously, if this is denied, what does that do? to this process, because we have to, my understanding is by Michigan law, we have to adopt this book at some point.
We would have to adopt it if we were redoing the master plan. This is something that, if it was, it could be denied, and there wouldn't be any like statutory like repercussions, is my understanding. But it's ultimately up to how you guys would, this body would like to move it forward. If it was denied, it could be just something that goes into the scrap heap, and if that's how you guys decide to move forward, you could table it and request more changes.
Refinement.
Yeah. Or you obviously prove it, but it ultimately it's up to how you guys want to move forward with this. It was brought as an opportunity because that grant fund was available, and it does offer insights that we didn't previously have. But ultimately, if it's something that this board is not interested in pursuing, that is an option that you have.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you laying out those options for us. Mr. Bonjero.
Just a comment. No one, we got no response, right? But do you think a lot of people didn't understand it? Like the issue that Mr. Ventura brought up about the accessory dwelling. I mean, knowing that, yeah, it could happen, but the thought of renting somebody's garage, I think if people knew that could happen in theory, might bring some people out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that something, maybe they just don't understand a lot of the language, because it isn't really that easy reading.
I would say there are a couple things, and I'll start by saying what this plan does not include, and that might fill the gaps in. Because this is an amendment, a lot of the content that would have captured what I would assume would be the bulk of the community is in your first 4 books. Housing is a small portion of the greater land use plan, the greater parks and recreation system, transportation. There are other aspects of a comprehensive master plan that were not addressed because this is only an amendment. We did not comprehensively open up your entire plan and redo the entire thing. So on one hand, now what this plan kind of requires you to focus on is planning and zoning and housing, which is a very small niche opportunity in terms of developing and identifying strategies. And planning and zoning, while I am a fan and I love it, it's not always the easiest topic to follow and understand. It's very legal heavy, a lot of regulatory, policies that define how to do that. So on one hand, yes, that is possible. And then I would also add what it does not include, again, because it is not a full comprehensive, it is an amendment for one component. It doesn't have the greater future land use implementation component of that plan. That component is still active and well within your first 4 books. And because that portion of the plan still functions, this portion focuses on particularly those opportunity sites, the ones that are not identified in your first 4 books. So I guess maybe there are both sides to that question. While yes, it may have aspects of it that are difficult to follow, there are individuals such as developers, which is the target audience of that portion of the plan, that can look at that plan and identify a lot of information that would allow them to make a decision if they should look at Livonia to bring that type of project or if they should go to another place. So I guess maybe yes and no to that question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonjero. Any other questions, comments? Mr. Ventura.
I hate to do this to you, but I gotta make another comment. Mr. Smith.
Yes.
One of the things that we did when we did the new master plan in 2000 is Livonia has traditionally been a single-family community.
Correct.
Single-family homes.
Correct.
And it was very much discouraged to build apartments in Livonia. And consequently, in 2000, when that master plan was done, you could count the number of apartment developments in this city on one hand. There were none, virtually. None of them were large. okay? And the changes that we made in that master plan have produced a relatively large explosion in apartment construction in this city.
Correct.
And we have hundreds of apartments, either planned and approved or under construction at this present time. It's a ground change, it's a groundswell of change to the housing stock in this community. And to the credit of the developers that have brought these developments to our community, they've been very sensitive to the citizens of the community. And they've come to these meetings and made comments about proposed developments, and they've responded to them and have come forward, and we have approved, and the council has approved, these apartment developments that are consistent with the plans of the development, or of the developer, and acceptable to the citizens of Livonia. I still don't see how any other zoning category that we can devise without degrading the housing stock that we're putting in the city can be possible.
So,
Economics, at the end of the day, are going to drive this thing. And as Mr. Wilshaw pointed out, the landowners are the ones that are going to say, yes, I'll sell it for this price. And the developers, which Mr. Bonjero can address, they have to deal with the economic realities of their business. It just doesn't, unless you're going to build 400 square foot dwelling units, I don't know how you do it. There just isn't a way to do it, I can tell you. And so, again, to my colleagues, we're all looking for something that we can do that's realistic, and I'm not hearing it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Smith,
I
go
apologize.
ahead.
Through the chair. The options presented to you, within the toolkit, the tools available within your toolkit, as it relates to the planning commission, are planning and zoning. And if your planning and zoning does not have the background and support from your master plan to make adjustments where needed, particularly around those, the three conceptual sites, such as the permitted use table, height requirements, the various regulations that control development. If the master plan provides the background that allows for those things to happen via text amendments, that is one of your most actionable items within your plan. And that is its own, year-long, 2-year-long process in itself to identify the various regulations to do that. And your master plan is the document that tells you you need to do that. And that's only one of the various tools. As it relates to single-family housing, if your goal is to develop single-family housing, you have to look at the various funding opportunities that exist to do that. And the plan identifies what those funding opportunities are. If you want to do LIHTC, that's an option. If you want to do the brownfield residential housing TIF, that is an option. And the follow-up to brownfield housing TIFs is to develop a policy. The plan says, I apologize, the plan says you need to develop a policy. That is your next actionable step. And the various aspects of the other challenges I mentioned are those actionable steps. If you want to preserve those existing affordable housing units, when those projects come to City Council, the plan recommends you either approve them or you identify policies that guide your decision-making on how to approve those. That is your actionable step. As it relates to the cost of housing is the cost of housing, and there is very little cities around the country are able to impact the cost of lumber. COVID doubled the cost of lumber from $200 to $400, and then it went back down, and housing picked up where it could after that. Those aspects you don't have direct control over, and we know this, but there are other aspects that you do have control over, and that is where the plan identifies you can take action. Updating your zoning to allow these types of developments to exist. The master plan, the future land use plan that currently exists in your Livonia 21 plan, there are various properties that have not been rezoned to align those properties to development, that is a recommendation that is identified into your plan. So that step could be undertaken immediately. Again, these things prepare the land for development in alignment with your zoning ordinance, and that is the strongest tool that the city of Livonia has to encourage development, to encourage affordability, and all the various aspects that address affordability across all levels of Livonia, the low income all the way to the extremely high income.
And if I can add to that, I think one of the things that is important with this document is that it informs, if a developer does come in with a multifamily development, this provides more evidence for us to say, well, that's great, a tower apartment's great, but we want to see more small scale incompatible or compatible with the neighborhood. And this supports that, saying, we've looked at this, these are the priorities. We don't want a tower, we want design that is takes the neighborhood into effect. We want smaller scale development, focusing on, if we're going to do multifamily, it should fit into the neighborhood and be the right size. It just gives us more leverage in the future to say, when we make those zoning decisions, to say, this is why we're saying you can't have a tower apartment, but you could have something that meets, has a diversity of housing types, or something that meets the needs of the community, still offers multifamily, so you can still meet those price restrictions that you have, but it gives us more reason to say, push back, this is why we want those things. Not just to say, you can't have it, but here's the reason. We've gone to the community, they said they're okay with smaller scale multifamily maybe in certain areas, and that's why we're saying no to this development.
And if I may, through the chair.
Mr. Smith, go ahead.
If I just may give one more example, we heard through the engagement and through the steering committee conversations that there were some developments that were of larger scale than may be ideal, and there were complaints about those. So any future development, there was an expression that those be of smaller scale, more of a relationable character to the community, rather than these larger scale, multifamily, extremely dense types of developments. So when we looked at the conceptual plans for Laurel Park, the Sears site, and then there's a third site, it's a much smaller parcel. We looked at those and said, how can we utilize these to accommodate smaller types of development? So instead of getting one large, 7, 8 story development on the Sears site, instead you get much smaller 5-unit types of developments, 8-unit smaller apartments. Again, retail spaces mixed with apartments on top. So instead of encouraging or attracting large scale, it says these are the types of housing that we're interested in developing. And what it further does is, currently majority zoning districts allow either a single type of building or a single type of development. So in order to accomplish any of those projects identified on those primary development sites, there does have to be if not a brand new district, a significant change to one of your existing districts to allow one type of development to have mixed retail. Separate from that building, you have a 5-unit apartment building. Separate from that, you have a 8-unit. Currently, and Mr. Yazzie can correct me if I'm wrong, you don't have an exact district that makes that a easy administratable process. And so if you do want those types of developments and you do want to increase the diversity of housing, you need to start to identify what that ordinance looks like. And this master plan gives that recommendation, and the entire conceptual plan is the framework on how you can accomplish that. You just have to develop the necessary zoning regulations to allow that to happen.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Droz, I believe, has the floor next.
Just one quick one. And where I think the plan ended up was a significant improvement. You did make the changes, and kind of highlighting the Plymouth Road site as an example of kind of the small scale, walkable, neighborhood scale development. I think was helpful to kind of show the community that there are different types of multifamily developments, ones that certainly are bigger, like was talked about, but much more neighborhood scale, where it's really just at the end of the street, you might have some commercial on the ground floor, to kind of show those as opportunities. And I think, I'm one voice of 95,000 plus in Livonia. So I was fairly happy with where we ended up. But, there's also a lot of metrics in the study, the report that talked about, I kind of characterize it as almost some red lights in the cockpit of things that we should be thinking about. And I think, going back to Ms. DeNaro's comment about the outreach, I think the community needs to see all that in a thoughtful way. Because I think what it sets up is for the community to have the conversation about, what do our commercial corridors look like? Are we okay with having these vast parking lots that front the mile roads? Could there be opportunity to do infill there? How would that look? Because that sets up the conversation when rezoning comes in, is whether it's something we want or not. And then, to the point about the development community, they're familiar with, this is something that's got a chance, or this is something that doesn't. So I think, bringing the community back together to talk about that, because again, going back to your engagement, really the engagement said that people were pretty happy with the way things are. And maybe they still are, but I think we have to give time for that question to be asked. So that's my only suggestion. I think the plan is probably as good as it's going to get. I mean, obviously we'll get some community feedback, but that's the point, right? I think we got to put it out there and see where people are at on it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Droz. I am going to open the floor up for folks in our audience who wish to speak on this. The reason is we've had a lot of good dialogue here the last hour. This is unusual for us to have this much dialogue on a single subject, but I think it's worthwhile. It gives people a chance to see kind of where we're at. They see the process. They're seeing the sausage being made, so to speak, which is a good thing. We need to get community input. We need to do this process, so I want to give them an opportunity, the folks who are here, a chance to speak, and then we'll make our decision from there. So I think that's the next step that I want to go to, so that we can keep the move, because we do have a couple other items on this agenda I want to get through as well. So I want to be cognizant of everyone's time and keep the process kind of moving as well. So if my colleagues are okay with that, I'm going to go to the floor. If there's anyone in this audience wishing to speak on this item, feel free to come forward. I do want to say before we get into public comment that I just want to reiterate that we are here to speak about Book 5 of the master plan. I do realize that there is a controversy that exists within this community over the Vision 21 master plan as a total document. We are not revising or looking at the existing documents, books 1 through 4, so we don't need to relitigate that at this point. What's here in the master plan is already here. We are just adding to it with this Book 5 housing. So please restrict your comments to the subject at hand tonight. Good evening, ma'am.
Just cleaned off.
It's all been cleaned, yes,
Okay.
thank you. Appreciate
Hi,
that.
Betsy Calhoun, Kimberly Oak Subdivision. I'd just like to comment that I got a look at this document a couple months ago, and I recall it was a thoughtful and thorough assessment of existing housing conditions, and as far as that goes, it's good background. I'm not sure how any community member could dispute that or would want to. It's a good kind of a history. What seemed to be the plan were the tables with ideas for different stakeholders or resources for certain items, and what got the attention of the Greenleaf Commission on Sustainability, and we did comment, whether or not those comments were incorporated, was the word sustainability. And, gee, why didn't they ask us? If you Google sustainability, it pretty much talks about people, planets, profits. This use of sustainability is housing, I understand the intent, but it's it's not how sustainability is being used today, and there's no mention of what to do with old buildings, reincorporating them into housing or anything like that. And I think Greenleaf Commission was only listed as a resource for like one item, and we're like, wait, we could contribute ideas for 4 or 5 of these. So anyway, that's my comments on sustainability. So it's kind of a strange use of the word, and I agree that more public engagement would be good. I don't know that I saw this on the community page, the Facebook page. And social media is it's our observer now, and we need to adjust to the times and figure out how to get the information out there to people. So, thanks.
Well, thank you for your comments, Ms. Calhoun. Good evening, sir.
Hi, Trevor Wilson, 17538 Hillcrest. I just want to second Ms. DeNaro's comments on the lack of notice. I'm kind of clued. I try to follow this stuff. I've been through the master plan meetings. I've been through planning, zoning stuff for the field outside of Kimberly Oaks on Merriman. Right, I've been through city council meetings, and whenever there's anything dealing with zoning, this room is packed, and the discussion goes on forever. And there's maybe a dozen people in this room. So, I mean, I don't remember seeing it on Facebook. I only saw it because someone in our neighborhood subgroup posted something, because we're always vigilant of what's going on in the field behind the church up there. Mm-hmm. So there's been lack of discussion, lack of notification. And even sitting through here today, I'm still not sure what Book 5 is, right? I hear someone talking about grants for the city tied to this. I hear talk of diversity of housing, and then it shifts immediately to apartments. One of the things that I've always thought has made Livonia special is the amount of single-family homes. And I've said in front of this council before, and I'll say it again, single-family homes, I think, is where it's at. Let's get families in and a chance to own versus paying rent, and let's get the ability to lay down roots and get something permanent for these people and not just apartments. That's one of the things that drew me here, was that it was single-family homes. I've lived here 11 years now, but I lived here I went to Stevenson for a bit as well. I grew up in Farmington. It's kind of the similar thing, but the neighborhood feels right. I'd like this that's what I would like to see. But like I said, we need more discussion and understanding what the 2021 is and what the grant is, and what the grant to the city is for, right? So.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Just so you know, the grant is for Mr. Donovan, Mr. Smith, and the work that he's been putting into this project. That's what the grant is for, is to build this.
Okay, so it's not tied to housing developments or anything
no,
like that?
No, it's not like grants to build houses or own houses or anything like that.
Because one thing I saw, and one of the things, I just found the link sitting on my phone here, and it's like they called 1,400 houses or developments that it was needed, and that would just scream high density housing to me, which would be apartments, right? And like I said, I'd like to see people get the chance to own something versus rent.
Definitely.
So
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Hi. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, and I appreciate the cleanup over here.
Certainly.
In book five,
sir, can we just get your name so we know who we're talking
sorry, Steve Johnson at 18240 Sunset.
Oh yeah, thank you.
In book 5, the parcel north of 6 Mile and east of Merriman being considered for a change from parks and community to low-density residential is concerning. First, the property sits next to a tributary of the Rouge River, which is a federally protected waterway, along with its watershed. There are strict rules and permits for building near protected waterways. Key controls include federal laws like the Clean Water Act, as well as local buffer zones and state environmental permits. Secondly, it appears some of the property sits in a floodplain. The creek snakes both to the north and to the south into the property in at least 2 places. Third, the property adjoins Livonia Public School property to the south, where a junior high used to sit. Livonia schools have not stated what their future use of the property will be. Speculation has been made that it may serve as a parking and maintenance of their bus fleet. This would not seem in harmony with property designation for low-density residential abutting it. And finally, the piece of land appears to be too small in size to accommodate low-density residential housing after streets, sidewalks, setbacks. It doesn't appear as if there would be adequate room for housing to justify the change. If you were talking about the whole parcel, along with what the Livonia Public Schools has over there, that 40 acres, then maybe, but this is a relatively and a very small piece of land. For the reasons stated, I ask that you remove this piece of land from the list of properties being considered in this Vision 21 amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, Jerry Kersinski, 19488 Bainbridge Avenue. So I've had a chance to review the plan. I wasn't aware that it was posted on the website. I'd like to echo Commissioner DeNaro's comments that residents in Livonia did not hear when this final version of the plan was posted. So therefore, 45 days were wasted because we just didn't know. And until I saw this meeting notice, then I said, oh my goodness. I just was looking at the plan as this meeting was going on. So to me, the significant pages of this plan are pages 37, 38, and 39, which is called the Strategic Action Plan for Housing Goals. There are three major goals: urban design, housing in neighborhoods, and housing sustainability. In those goals, there are 4 high-priority short-term actions, but they're mixed throughout the list of actions. And one of the actions, which to me doesn't seem to make sense, is require that new construction and rehabilitation developments utilize high-quality building and construction materials. Wouldn't it be more appropriate to say that we would use the appropriate materials for the cost of or the intended price of the building or development? Requiring high quality puts your price point at a much higher level when throughout the entire document it shows that basically we have a normal distribution of homes in Livonia where the very low price poor people are underserved and the very expensive wealthy people are underserved. Well, that is the demographic of our community, and it's one that everyone, I think to many of the points that were made by all of the commissioners, anticipate and expect when they look at moving to Livonia. So if I were to make any recommendation, if this plan is to be posted and approved, is to review those action steps. Because a lot of the action steps require planning commission, city staff to do things. And a lot of the things Mr. Smith pointed out probably should be identified in more detail if this is truly the strategic plan with basically just goals and assignments of who might do them and what the relative importance and timing are. But it does mention the 1,400 homes, and if we need 1,400 homes by 2050, maybe we need to figure out what kinds of homes those are, and that should probably be in here instead of just 1,400 homes by 2050. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Karazinski. Mr. Biga.
Good evening. Jim Biga, Livonia, Michigan. First, before I start, I know we talked about this upstairs in planning, and I know we've talked about it here, and I don't remember when it started, when you voted to send this to council. But I know when council had that room full of people and we had oodles of public comment, the understanding was there was going to be a public hearing after the council said, okay, let's publish. Mm-hmm. I don't remember seeing any public notice that we were going to have a meeting.
You're at it.
And I missed that. So if I did miss it, I apologize if I missed it. I didn't see anything published until I came here and I saw that something was there, and I asked Mr. Hazy where it was published, and it was in the planning department pages. I missed all that. So I apologize that I wasn't smart enough to figure out where everything was hidden in the documents where this was. And I know from public comments and Facebook, which were a lot of things, as Ms. Calhoun said, everybody reads. There were a lot of people who wanted to get involved in this Book 5, to have comments, to be involved in the meeting, and to be there, and we're just not there. That said, I just looked through here tonight, and, you know, I'm reading here, and it says Livonia has approximately 94,942 housing units. Now, last night, I was at the meeting for the Budget and Finance Committee, and according to the city assessor, we only have 37,443. Okay, what happened to the 60,000 homes that we say we have in the plan as of 2024? What happened to them? Nobody's checked the plan. The plan also says on page 28, there's all this housing at a certain dollar value. And I'm looking at it going, you know, these dollar values just didn't seem right to me, because I'm looking and looking and looking, and I'm going, huh. So I go back to the document from the budget department, or the city assessors, and I'm going, oh, that's the SEV value, and those are their values in the number of homes in the SEV, not the market value. So I don't know where the document pulled information from and where they pulled their data from and what they did, but I really think that we need to go back and look at the data points that are in this document and say, hey, where did we pull everything from? You know, where's the key that said, hey, we pulled it from this document, that document? I'm really nervous as to the data points that we're saying. I don't see in here, and, you know, Mr. Karazinski spent a little bit more time where he was looking, but I don't see anything that says recommendations for ADUs. It talks about ADUs. It talks about different types of housing. It talks about, you know, 4-unit apartments and things like that, but it doesn't say, hey, we recommend that this would be really good in this kind of a situation. Now, I don't see that there. I also don't see anything that says, is our infrastructure sufficient enough to handle, you know, if 4 homes in a row put ADUs in their garage, what's it do to the sewer system back there, the water supply? Do we need to increase something there? I mean, you're going to have all that extra sewage and water being done there. Is the, you know, Old Rosedale sufficient enough to handle that? Is my neighborhood, you know, I'm up at 6 and 7 Mile off of Wayne Road, and, you know, is that sufficient up there? Power-wise, I mean, everybody complains, you know, you're at 7 Mile and Middle Belt, and this, you know, DTE just says, hey, it might rain, and all of a sudden the power goes out. So people are going to be able to handle all this extra power. You know, there are a lot of issues that aren't addressed that, to me, have to be said, hey, if we're going to do all this stuff, these things need to be addressed. DTE, consumers, or whoever, you know, just to sit there and say, hey, you can go out and get a grant, maybe somebody can get a grant to be able to afford something. We also talk about, vacancy rates. We have a 7% vacancy rate as of 2023. I look on all things Livonia, people are always asking, where can they rent a house in Livonia? If there's a 7% vacancy rate, and there's always every week 1 or 2 people asking, where can I rent in Livonia for a house? And whether it's a family or a single mom with a couple of kids, they're looking for places. Either people are asking for way too much money, or their expectations for what they can rent don't match. So whatever this plan has needs to say, this is the kind of housing stock we have for these things. It shouldn't just sit there and say, oh, this is nice, we have this, we have that. It needs to really reflect what's available and what's there now in the next 5 years. And, you know, if we do need 1,400 housing units, God help us, I don't know where we're going to put them.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Ms. Micah.
Hi, Denise Micah, Livonia. Yeah, I hate to ding it, but, you know, we've been to a couple meetings over time, and the documents that support the meeting should be in that side, and we had to go a couple different routes to get to this plan, so we only got to look at it once we got in the room. I still have a problem, well, Number one, we're a bedroom community. We have apartments going up, and God help us, the one at 7 and Victor Corporate Park, they've been moving that dirt for how long, right? And the apartments that are supposed to be built in the old Wonderland area, haven't broken ground on that, so where's the need for that housing? And I liked how when we, with the new Meyer going in at 7 in Farmington, that you held the builder to a little bit different standard, saying, hey, that's too high of a building and it's back on those homes and everything. So you had the power to move it and do that. So I don't know why we need this document to do it, because I think you guys are doing a great job. The median home values over time, figure 5.11. Other parts of the document, 5.8, and they tell us in table 5.8, they talk about Canton Township, Northville, Plymouth, and everything. But then when it comes to our median that we comparing to us that we're too much, they're comparing us to Detroit, Warren, Dearborn, CBSA, Michigan. How come we're not compared to the other cities that are in Wayne County too? So we're a lot cheaper than some of those other neighborhoods. So that's not taken into account, that we're more reasonable. People love to come to Livonia because it's a bedroom community. It's accessible to a lot of, highways and everything. So I really think this needs to have more in-depth comment from the citizens. And I think some of it's got good reference points, but like Mr. Bigga pointed out, there's some still discrepancies within the document. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else wishing to comment on this item? No one else coming forward. Thank you to all the residents. You will note that I normally have a time limit on commenting, but I did not enforce that this time because of the fact that we've had a lot of comments on it, and I want to make sure that everybody here had a chance to say what they wanted to say on this item, so I appreciate all that input. I now go back to my colleagues, and we'll give them an opportunity to ask any further questions. Mr. Smith is coming forward again if there's anything else he would like to assist us with. Does any of my colleagues have any questions for Mr. Smith?
I have a question.
Mr. No, of course.
For Jacob. Jacob, if we table this for 30 days, can we open up the public comment for that time period?
We certainly could.
Okay.
We will have to request an extension from for the grant, but there's nothing preventing us from looking for more public feedback.
Is the terms of the grant, is it supposed to end, is it supposed to end soon, or
Yes.
what are the terms of the grant that were?
Donovan, maybe you could remember offhand the details of what the end date is.
Yes, we are in an extension. We intended to bring this one maybe a few months back, and then there were some things that had to get adjusted. So the extension that we are now is till the 30th, so the end of this month, I believe.
And then the extension is for us to vote on this, get it through city council, and then we're done?
Correct. So this public hearing and adoption would be the last step.
So we would have to ask for another 30-day extension to?
You could. You could also possibly, if you knew them, but I understand you may want to open public comment, you could adopt with amendments or with changes, but you may not have all those at the moment, so I understand if that's not an option you want to exercise. As Mr. Uhazi indicated, we could extend, you would have to do a few things. If you want to stay within the grant timeline, you probably have to have another meeting before the month ends to make final adoption if you wanted to do that. We could receive comments between now and the next time you meet, and then I can provide written responses to all of those and any changes that would incorporate the document. Again, we just are within the kind of the last window of based on that grant.
I would be more comfortable if we open this up for at least an additional 30 days for public comment. So if that means we have to file for a grant extension, I think we need to do that.
Okay.
Excuse me, with that, what's gonna be the difference? How are we gonna get the people out? What are they gonna do different to get it marketed so we get the people to be here? You know what I mean? It didn't work this time. What's gonna be different?
I think it would be fair, and the thing that I hear, I've heard sort of loud and clear at this meeting is, even though we're not required, we followed the minimums. You know, there's always what the minimums are, what's required. We followed what was required to post this publicly. But what I'm hearing is obviously, you know, times have changed. People aren't looking in the Observer, because it doesn't exist, for this type of thing, or they're not looking in the Detroit Law Review, or whatever paper this has to get published in. They want to see this on Facebook. You know, they want us. Livonia has a Facebook page. We could put a post on there that says, here's, you know, a comment period for book 5. Here's a link to book 5. You know, send us your comments.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like,
You know, you can
something
go above and
different, right?
beyond
Yeah.
those minimums. Mr. Uhazy.
I mean, as mentioned before, we did have public engagement, so we could just follow what we've done previously. You know, like I said, we've had the open house, we did have people attend. It's not that we haven't had any engagement throughout this process. I would venture to guess that, you know, doing what we did before, not this with this particular round, but with the open house and such, would allow for outreach, adequate outreach to reach the community. Like I said, reflecting what we've already done that has been successful within this process already.
Mr. Ventura?
Jacob, you're aware that when we did the master plan, we had charrettes
Yes.
around the city that were publicized. They were on Facebook.
Yes.
And they were in social media. And we did approach the civic associations around the city to make sure that they publicized to the residents in their communities that these were going on. And we had good interaction when we did the master plan. And I'd suggest, first of all, I agree completely with Ms. Waffa or Ms. Denaro, at least 30 days. I feel it should be 45 or 60 days to get it out there and get the community aware that this is going on and give them adequate time to come forward and engage in the process. I mean, we have a couple gentlemen here that are here at almost every meeting, and it amazes me to find out that they're just learning about this because they're pretty tuned in. And if they're not aware of it, then I'm sure the majority of citizens of Livonia are not aware of it. I'd recommend we do charrettes and more time.
More than 30.
Yeah,
Okay.
nearly 30 gets it done.
All right. It's good commentary, but we need some action here. Someone
So
want to make a motion?
I'm going to make the motion to table this for 45 days.
Okay. And we have a request to table this item for 45 days. With that, I think the direction is fairly clear to our planning staff that we would like to get this published and advertised in as many ways as possible. And do we have support for a tabling motion?
I'll support.
We'll go with Mr. Ventura on that. All right. Tabling motions do not have a discussion period. This is Denaro and Ventura for tabling for 45 days. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mrs. DeNaro.
Yes.
Mr. Ventura.
Aye.
Mr. Bonjero.
Aye.
Mr. Droz.
Aye.
Chair Magna votes aye. Will Shell.
Votes aye. Motion passes. The item has been tabled. Thank you, everyone, for your discussion on this item. It was a very healthy conversation. And thank you, Mr. Smith, for coming tonight and spending this much time with us.
Thank you, and through the chair, I appreciate all the conversation this evening. I think it was very engaging, and it will be very beneficial to the plan. I look forward to receiving additional comment. I, for one, like the comment, so again, I appreciate you all. Thank you. And again, I look forward to seeing you again in 45-ish days.
Yeah, as you said, it's, this is a subject matter that those of us who are involved with planning kind of live for. We like this stuff, but I'm sure half of our TV audience has fallen asleep by listening to this entire conversation. So the amount of engagement we get is going to be interesting to see. But hopefully there are some people in the community who do take interest in this and will participate. So very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are done with the public hearing section of our agenda. We now move on to the miscellaneous section of our agenda. Item number 5.
Petition 2026-06-08-03, submitted by Continuo Group, requesting site plan approval pursuant of Section 3.16 of the Livonia zoning ordinance as amended, and amend the conditional rezoning statement of conditions granted on May 16, 2016, in connection with the rezoning petition 2015-12-01-13 to construct and add 2 self-storage buildings to the existing storage facility, Clover Self-Storage, at 28900 Schoolcraft Road, located on the north side of Schoolcraft Road between Cardwell Avenue and Middlebelt Road in the northwest quarter of Section 24.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Uhazy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This subject parcel was rezoned to Light Manufacturing in 2016. Under Section 6.54, self-storage facility is treated as a permitted use under the M1 district, but under Section 6.44, it says that storage of recreational vehicles and equipment does require waiver use approval. The waiver was granted in 2016 with the rezoning, but one of the conditions was that if any changes to that, it did have to come back here to amend that conditional rezoning. The site is the location of the former Clover Lanes, which was opened in 1962 and then closed in 2015. The parcel is about 5.5 acres in size with 846 feet along Schoolcraft Road by an average depth of about 285 feet. The former bowling alley building was 57,824 square feet of general or gross floor area. The self-storage portion of the building utilizes the same footprint as the old bowling alley. The storage buildings are 2 stories in height and have a floor area of about 111,500 square feet. The building contains a small sales office and conference room, and extending through the center of the lower level is a 27-foot wide drive aisle for vehicles to enter via an electronically controlled overhead door located on the east side of the building and then exit in the same manner on the west side of the building. This proposal would add 2 12-foot tall self-storage buildings to the west of the existing building.
Mr. Uhazy, I hate to interrupt you. It's not shown on our TVs. It is on the
I apologize.
broadcast, though.
Just takes a second to load.
A little inside baseball for people who don't realize we have TVs that we can see up here. They probably shut off because of all this time we wasted.
Yes, they did, actually.
Screensavers.
There you go.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Continue on.
So they would, the buildings measure approximately 8,100 square feet for the westerly building and 9,000 square feet for the easterly building, for a combined total area of 17,100 square feet of new storage area. Units within these buildings are designed to accommodate a range of storage needs, including 36 units at 10 feet by 20 feet, 18 units at 10 feet by 25 feet, and 18 units at 10 by 30 feet. This would be a total of 72 new units. The construction would comply with required setbacks. The distance between the proposed building and the existing building would be just over 36 feet at the center. That would be where the cars exit from the internal inside the building. All of the existing structures would remain unchanged. The area that would be proposed to be constructed is currently used for storage or outdoor recreational vehicle storage. The The original approval did state that they were allowed to have storage in the west of the existing existing RV storage, but the construction would result in a loss of 28 RV spaces. Since the study session, the petitioner did submit a photometric plan that does show that to the north property line does have over 0.5 foot candles at the where it meets the residential. And it is ranging from 0.7, 0.8 at some of the measuring spots. The petitioner also did provide a truck turning radii diagram showing that that trucks coming from the back of the building would need to encroach partially onto the parking spaces along the northern edge of the property. And then to access the westernmost, and then so it does identify truck movements for both the western access to the western, middle, and eastern portion access points to the storage sites. And then they did provide additional color renderings for the elevations. The elevations includes EIFS siding of light grange on the upper half, and then a red-brown modular brick on the lower half, with a light stone metal panel skirt along the parapet. Those are the changes that we have seen since the study session, and then I also have some correspondence to read.
Sure, if you can read that out, please.
From the Fire Marshal's office, this office has reviewed the site plan submitted in connection with the new construction and use of the property located at the above referenced address. If gate is motorized, provide a Knox box with necessary keys, fobs, key cards, passwords, and after-hours contact information for emergency vehicle access. A further detailed plan review will take place when the division receives an official plan set. Signed, Brian Kukla, Fire Marshal. From the Police Department, I've reviewed the plans in connection with the petition. I have no objections to the proposal. Signed, Brendan Adams, Sergeant of the Traffic Bureau. From the Inspection Department, pursuant to your request, the above reference petition has been reviewed. 1. Exterior lighting sources shall be designated, constructed, located, and maintained in a manner that minimizes light trespass onto neighboring properties and public ways. The light trespass from the property shall not exceed 0.5 foot candles at the property line measured 5 feet from the ground. This department has no further objections to the petition. Signed, Jerome Hanna, Director of Inspection. From the Finance Department, I have reviewed the address connected to the above noted petition. As there are no outstanding amounts receivable, general or water and sewer, I have no objections to the proposal. Signed, Erman Sims, Chief Accountant. From the Treasurer's Office, the owner of the property is current on their property taxes. Signed, Susan Nash, City Treasurer. And then finally, from the Engineering Division, in accordance with your request, the Engineering Division has reviewed the above referenced petition. We have no objections to the proposed project at this time, but would like to note the following items. 1. The subject parcel is assigned the address of 28900 Schoolcraft Road. 2. The existing parcel is currently serviced by public sanitary sewer and water main, as well as private storm sewer. There is no mention of utility revisions with the proposal, so we do not believe there will be any adverse effects on the existing system. 3. Should revisions to the utility services to the building or any work within the Schoolcraft Road right-of-way be required, the owner needs to submit drawings to the department or MDOT for permitting. Signed, Assistant Engineer David Lear. That is all.
That's all? All right. Any questions for staff? Any questions? No questions. All right. Petitioner is in our audience. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Jake Michael, 755 Commerce, Decatur, Georgia. Thank you for having me tonight. I really appreciate you all giving me the opportunity. Jacob did a great job kind of going over everything that we are looking at here. As Jacob said, any changes to the to the additional buildings will require going before this commission. So one of the things I wanted to point out, based off of specific conversations that we had last time at the study session, I know you specifically asked to see some truck turns for vehicles with trailers and towing things behind them. So the figure that you see up here, the vehicle driving through the center of the building is a 20-foot truck carrying a 20-foot boat trailer, and it's able to make that turning maneuver pretty safely without coming to a full stop or anything like that, and really cranking the wheels underneath it. So it should be hopefully idiot-proof. And there was another mention at the public meeting about, at the study session about lighting. I recognized from Jacob's comments from the engineering department about it's actually 0.5 foot candles at the property line, and we actually exceed that. So we'll go and revise that lighting plan, switch out some fixtures, and make sure that that's not an issue with light encroaching across the property line. Other than that, the architectural elevations that we've provided for you show that it does match pretty similarly to the existing storage facility out there. And I think it'll make a great kind of blend in with what's out there. So yeah, I thank you, and I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, Mr. Michael, for your presentation. Let me see if there's some questions for you. Any questions, Mr. Droz?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just two for you. The first one on the photometric plan, saw you have the foot candles. What are you planning for your lights?
Yeah, so it's 3 fixtures on each side of the building. So 3 on the west side, 3 on the east side of each building. So they're 3 kind of evenly spaced lighting fixtures.
Okay. Anything on the south side?
No, nothing on the north or south side.
Okay, got it. And then the next question, your turning radii. You said idiot-proof. I'm not sure you're there.
There's also bollards all over the place.
Yeah.
So on the corners of the buildings, there are bollards. When you leave that drive aisle, there are bollards on the aisle there as well. So they'll hit something before they'll hit the building.
There's a couple spots where you're showing tracking over curbs. If you look kind of at that right at that driveway there on the east side, you're over tracking that. So I guess I just suggest move the fence or do something to give yourself a little more room. And then what's going on with, what are we looking at here at that driveway? There's 3 or 4 different trucks that are overlapping. You just showing various vehicles leaving?
Yes,
or?
so one of the vehicle that's actually looping around is the fire truck. That's the fire truck turning radius. And then the vehicle that's driving through the main building, and then it drives south and then to the driveway, and that's where it stops. So the vehicle track kind of shows the stop and end points of each of the vehicles that are tracking.
Okay.
And they just happen to overlap at the driveway, so it is, a little messy there.
Okay, yep. Still feels like you're a little light coming out of the building, but if you guys feel comfortable with it and you got the bollards in there, I think that helps. Are they on the corners of the buildings themselves? You have bollards?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you could zoom in on the corners of the building, there's 2 bollards on each of the corners as well. They're called out more specifically on our site plan.
Okay, and then you have some tracking over the parking spaces on the north side. I assume if you move that down, it's going to be okay?
Yes,
It looks like that's a fire vehicle.
Yes, that's a fire vehicle, and we're gonna. The vehicle tracking is something that we can clean up and make it show that it is possible to do without going over there. It's just a bit of a imperfect science when you're actually making the diagram.
Okay. All right. If you make it work, I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Droz. Any other questions? Wow, we covered it all with one person. Good job, Mr. Droz. Any questions from anybody, comments from anybody in the audience? Okay, get that out of the way. Again, I'll go to my colleagues. Did I miss anything? Is there any questions or comments? I will admit that I do share some of Mr. Droz's concerns about the turning radii. I've been on that site, and it's tight when you're going to have those buildings there, I think. But we'll see how things go.
Okay.
Any other comments from you, Mr. Michael, before we make our decision?
No, sir.
All right. Then a motion is in order.
All right. I would like to offer an approving resolution, and bear with me because this one's long, that the request To requesting an amendment to the conditional rezoning statement of conditions granted on May 16, 2016, in connection with rezoning petition 2015-12-01-13, to construct and add 2 self-storage buildings to the existing storage facility, Clover Self-Storage at 28900 Schoolcraft Road, is hereby approved, subject to City Council approval for the following reasons. 1, that the site plan marked sheet C200 prepared by Contaneo Group dated July 16, 2026, as revised is hereby approved and shall be adhered to. 2, that the landscape plan prepared by Murphy and Associated dated April 5, 2016, as revised is hereby approved and shall be adhered to, except that additional full-size deciduous trees shall be planted along the front of the property, subject to approval by the Planning and Engineering Departments. 3, that all disturbed lawn areas shall be sodded in lieu of hydro seeding, including all areas within the public road right-of-way. 4, that all light fixtures shall not exceed 20 feet in height and shall be aimed and shielded so as to minimize stray light trespassing across property lines and glaring into adjacent roadways. 5, that the underground sprinklers are to be provided for all landscaped and sodded areas, and all planted materials shall be installed to the satisfaction of the inspection department and thereafter permanently maintained in a healthy condition. 6, that the exterior building elevation plans marked sheets S101 and S102 prepared by Elevate Structures dated January 20, 2026 is hereby approved and shall be adhered to. 7, that the site shall meet either the City of Livonia or the Wayne County Stormwater Management Ordinance, whichever applies, and shall secure any required permits, including soil erosion and sedimentation control permits. 8, the use of the self-storage facility shall be limited to the storage of personal and business items only, and no unit designed or intended for storage of purposes shall be used for operating a business or recreational activity, including but not limited to repairs, manufacturing, assembly, personal service, hobby, retail, or office. 9, there shall be no storage of flammable, explosive, radioactive, hazardous, toxic, or volatile substances within self-storage buildings or upon the premises, except that a propane refill station may be permitted as part of the concierge island as approved by the Livonia Fire Marshal and Inspection Department. 10, no overnight occupancy is permitted anywhere on the site, including the interior storage units or the RVs. 11, that the hours of operation for both the outdoor storage yard and indoor climate-controlled self-storage facility shall be limited to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 12, the entire building and property shall have a camera security system in place and key code access. 13, that unless approved by the proper local authority or any type of exterior advertising such as promotional flags, streamers, or sponsor vehicles designed to attract the attention of passing motorists shall be prohibited. 14, that the specific plans referenced in this approving resolution shall be submitted to the inspection department at the time the building permits are applied for. And 15, pursuant to section 13.13 of the Livonia zoning ordinance, this approval is valid for a period of 1 year only from the date of approval by City Council unless a building permit is obtained. This approval shall be null and void at the expiration of said period.
Is there support?
Support.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Ms. DeNaro, supported by Mr. Droz. Is there any discussion? Mr. Uhazy.
Yes, I just would like to note that we did receive new plans from the study session to here. So if it's okay to change the site plan to dated, the new date would be July 28th, 2026. And then the exterior building elevations, the new date would be 7/31/2026.
Yep.
Okay, we're all right with that. Sounds good. Any other questions, comments? If not, if the secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mrs. DeNaro.
Aye.
Mr. Droz.
Aye.
Mr. Bonjero.
Aye.
Mr. Ventura.
Aye.
Chair Magno votes aye. Chairman Wilshaw.
Votes aye, motion passes. We'll go to City Council with an approving recommendation. Good luck.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming tonight. We have, now we go to the pending items section of our agenda. These are items that were tabled from previous meetings. Item number 6.
Petition 2026-06-01-01, submitted by Optilis Healthcare requesting approval under section 13.15 of the Livonia zoning ordinance as amended to rezone the rear 25 feet of the properties at 11687 Camden, 11709 Camden, 11731 Camden, 11741 Camden, and 11755 Camden from N1 neighborhood to C1 local business to provide additional parking spaces for the Fountain Blue Health and Rehabilitation Center located on the north side of Plymouth Road between Camden and Haller in the southwest quarter of Section 25.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. This item was tabled at a prior meeting. Is there a motion to remove this item from the table?
So moved.
By Ms. DeNaro, supported by Mr. Ventura. Is there any objection to showing 6 on that? I see no objection. We'll mark this item as removed from the table. Mr. Uhazy, is there any updates that you'd like to provide?
The only update is that the petitioner has decided they would rather do C1, petition for C1 instead of parking. Other than that, the designs are all the same, and there are no other changes.
Okay, and all the previous information that was read out from the prior meeting is still valid?
There are
Any updates?
one update on, there was an outstanding bill for water that was paid, but then the next update has come, or the next payment has been due. Now, finance did say that it could be in the mail, but as of right now, it's showing that there's a new outstanding balance. They satisfied the last one, there is a new one, but it's the due date has just passed, so that's very likely that it just hasn't even processed yet.
Okay, it's just current news. All right, very good, thank you. With that, I think I can now go to the petitioner who's in our audience. Feel free to come to our podium. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. My name is Maurice Charbonneau. I work with JSN Architecture, 3856 12 Mile Road, Berkeley, Michigan. And we're the architect who's helping the ownership with this request. And the intent was to provide additional parking. Primarily, if you look at the site, it's primarily because of the location of the main entry and its respective position relative to the primary parking on site. And so that was the intent. So I'm certainly available if you've got any questions or comments.
Well, thank you, Mr. Charbonneau, for coming tonight and explaining that to us. Again, like we had on a previous one of our agenda items, what we're looking at tonight is the zoning for this property. That's really the main consideration we're going to have for tonight. If you get approved for your rezoning, what will happen is you'll have to go to city council, and then you'll come back and file a site plan, and the site plan will come to us to actually noodle out the details of the parking design that you have. So we're not, it's kind of a two-step process.
Okay.
That you're in, and this is step one of that two-step process. So I just want to set that expectation. Even though it is parking, it's not the most complicated thing in the world, but you still have to go through the process. Any questions from my colleagues?
I have a question.
Mr. Naro, of course.
Is there a reason you're zoning this C1 and not parking? And I'll tell you from my perspective is I have no problems with the parking, and I know it's necessary, but I am very concerned that this is a residential area, and in the future, zoning this to C1, I wouldn't want to see a commercial, I wouldn't want to see anything other than parking in that area because it is so close to the residents.
The primary reason why we, is the C1 is consistent with the zoning on the existing parcel right now. As it sits, the existing parcel, I believe, and Mr. Uhazy can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it actually has 3 zonings on it right now. So part of the process, there was a few reasons why we elected not to pursue the P1. It was never our intention to pursue P1. It was actually a suggestion made, I think, in one of the preliminary discussions that we had. And there was some confusion on the way that the application was filed. that was why it never should have been kind of introduced. I mean, we wanted to maintain that. But one of the primary reasons why is zoning at P1 constitutes a kind of a spot zone because there really isn't any other consistent zoning around. So in our experience and also in our work across many communities, it's something that they always try to avoid, is the notion of a spot zone as something there that just has that. One of the other reasons why is that I don't think it's consistent with that is there really isn't any way of accessing it other than through another property. Like there's no, if we're adjacent to a roadway, even a private roadway, might have some validity, but in that respect, it didn't seem consistent with what we wanted. But it's also, I think the primary reason was because the parent parcel is primarily C1, especially as it relates relative to the adjacency to the neighborhood, the existing neighborhood. So right now it's C1 to the N1. So we're not, it was for consistency's sake, but it's also, we're not introducing a new zone that's, it still has the same adjacency, the C1 to C1 to N1.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but if the intention is to keep this a parking lot, I mean, I'm going to tell you, like, I'm not going to be comfortable because of what the future implications mean for this parcel and what this would mean for the neighbors. There needs to be space between this facility and the neighbors, and buying up the residential and turning it into a parking lot is one thing, but buying up the residential, turning it into a parking lot and later developing it into something else is problematic for the neighborhood, and it's going to be problematic for the residents. So I will not support this. I'm not going to support it. I will support parking, but I will not support this because of the future implications.
Hello, my name is Charles Dunn, and I'm the owner of the facility. We also own the houses behind it.
Yep.
Okay, we're talking about 30 feet of taking away from the yards of each one of these properties. It's 150 feet of yardage. You only have to have 90. So as far as the residents go, with the wall that we're going to construct, it shouldn't have any effect on that.
Yeah, and I'm okay with what you're proposing today, but what I'm telling you is I'm not okay with what this means for the future of that site. Like, I'm okay with if you want to zone this as parking, I am perfectly fine with that, and I'm okay with your plans, but I will not vote to rezone this because of what this would mean. And
what would it
maybe
mean?
not-
I don't understand.
So
what would
if
it
it's
mean?
rezoned as
Yeah.
commercial, it can be, you can build commercial on that lot.
Oh, no, excuse me. It's only 30 feet wide, and it's only 300 feet long. So you can't build anything on it. So I don't know where you're coming from.
Mr. Dunn, we don't want to get into a back and forth between you and someone.
Okay.
I will let Ms. DeNaro say what she likes to say to you, but please listen to her.
So buildings aren't, your building may be there in 5 years, it may not be, and the implications for the neighbors for whatever the next development might be is what we're deciding on today. So like I said, if you are willing to, if you're willing to zone it for parking, I fully support that, but I will not support a commercial zoning because of what it would mean for maybe after you sell this parcel, maybe while you still own it. I don't want to see this developed into something else other than what it is right now. And I think I understand your need for more parking, and I will support that, but I will not support it as a zoning of anything else other than parking.
It's your choice.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else have any other comments? Mr. Droz?
Mr. Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeNaro.
So procedurally, you're taking the westerly portion of these properties. Are you planning to do a lot combination where that property is brought into the larger commercial space, or is that going to remain separate parcels?
My understanding was the intention was to combine the lots, but that this was kind of the first procedural step, was that it had to now carry a appropriate zoning designation. Because as it sits right now, it's an N1. And so they said, well, if you want to do that, the first step is you have to rezone that portion of the site that you want to absorb into the new parent parcel.
And I think, so, and I guess maybe that's a question, because, you know, if you're rezoning all the way to Camden, then I'm certainly with Ms. Gennaro that I don't think that makes any sense for that to be commercial. Is that what we're being asked?
Excuse me, Mr. Dunn, hold on a second.
Which, are we being asked to rezone those entire parcels, or just the westerly portion?
Just the highlighted portion, the rear 30 feet of those parcels.
Okay, so then the portion on Camden would remain
The
the
front
N1.
half would be N1.
Okay.
So there would still be single family going up to to Camden.
Okay. And that is, okay.
Which is here.
So you would get that zoning changed with approval, of course. And then next step would be to do a lot combination to pull everything together. Because I think, you know, if it is C1 or even P1, like having it in one parcel would be ideal, I would say. And if you guys if the plan is absolutely that back 30, I think that helps, I think, at least control the concern about residential commercial on a residential street. It doesn't have the infrastructure to support that.
Well, and I actually had a question regarding the concerns of being C1 in that location versus a P1 my understanding is you couldn't develop within, because of a setback requirement, you'd always have a buffer there. As a matter of fact, the usage of parking with a screen wall probably allows you to get closer to that rear property line than you would otherwise if, say, for example, the facility were to go away and you were to redevelop the land, you'd still, have that required setback.
Yep.
I may be incorrect in making that assessment, but that's kind of one of the ideas. But it was, like I said, it was primarily to avoid the presence of a spot zone and also to maintain consistency with the larger zoning of the parcel. So rather than introduce a fourth zoning onto it.
I see the benefit of having a single zone over a parcel, or at least less than 4 in your case. Okay. That helps with my understanding. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Droz. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Ventura.
So the petitioner owns the homes that are east of this strip of land you want to rezone.
I believe so. Is that correct,
true or not?
Mr.? Yeah.
Who's responsible for maintaining those homes? You are.
Mr. Dunn, do you want to come back up to our microphone? That way our TV audience can hear you. Okay. We got 5 people at home that are watching.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
How do I look?
So you're responsible.
It's a good angle. Go ahead.
The answer is yes, you're responsible.
Yeah.
The day I was there was quite a range of condition of the homes. Some of the ones closer to Plymouth Road were in better shape than the ones further up the street. And there was quite a range in landscape maintenance and painting of the houses and all that kind of stuff. What's your long-term plan with those houses? Are they all rented right now?
To remodel them more. We have one tenant there that's sloppy, I'll admit. And I've been telling him forever to clean up his yard and do what he has to do. But, we'll make him look more attractive.
So he's responsible to do it, or you are?
We cut the lawn. He's supposed to keep the fire pit. He's not supposed to have a fire pit. His trash should be near the garage. He's sloppy. He's just a sloppy guy.
I guess I'd like to see the maintenance of those houses improve significantly.
Really?
Yeah. I can't imagine that the people across the street who are keeping their homes pretty well like looking at the homes that are not being maintained. And I understand that's not your primary business, but it would seem to me to be the neighborly thing to do would be to take care of your property
I agree.
to the standards that everybody else in the neighborhood has. Just an observation.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So I have one comment to tell you. I don't know if you know this, but the oldest person living in Livonia lives in my facility. And you know how old that person is? 110 years old.
That's
And we're
amazing.
so proud of that. We're going to have a little open house and have the mayor there. The whole idea of doing this parking is because of people like her sister, that's about 80 years old, has to go in the parking in the front. So if it's right at the door for her, it'll be much more convenient. That's the whole purpose of this whole thing.
I understand.
Okay? And I appreciate your comments on the house. We'll get it together.
Thank you.
Sounds good, thank you. Any other questions for the petitioner? We're all set? Anyone in the audience wishing to comment on this? Ms. Calhoun? Welcome back.
Hi there. I missed the meeting where this was first come up, sorry, so I'm maybe not have all the background information, but I'm a little, I'm still curious and puzzled as to why you would basically devalue 4 single residence properties by lopping off property at the back when it appears that the north lot, the 11755, is adjacent to that driveway and is vacant and is also owned by these folks. You know, we shouldn't be denigrating our single-family homes. They may be owner-occupied at some point. And again, it seems like there's a whole lot up here that nobody's going to want to build a house on that would seem could be attractively done as a parking lot, maybe zoned separately as a parking lot to obviate any, you know, future issues. But I just find that kind of odd because it needs, you know, this is a nursing home, and so it is a home for people, but it's still kind of a commercial venture, and it needs to exist, you know, cohesively with the neighbors and not to damage property values of either entities. So, thanks.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Calhoun. Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on this item? All right, I'm going to go back to my colleagues. Actually, I'm going to give the petitioner the last word. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we make our decision?
I guess to speak to that comment, I understand there is what is, you know, is currently a vacant lot there, and develop that into parking may help to some degree, but it's not as beneficial as the, as far as location and proximity to the entry, which is what we're trying to achieve with that. And also, the modification of those lots does not reduce them to below compliant standard, because there is a minimum lot size standard that we're not even really, we're above that, and we're not even like really close, you know, we're not playing games with, you know, like 5 feet over, and maybe Mr. Uhazy can kind of speak to that if need be, but as far as how close we are to that, but.
Okay, I appreciate that comment. Thank you. I'm going to go back to my colleagues now. Is there any questions or comments? If not, a motion is in order.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Bonjero.
I'll make an approving resolution. The request to rezone the rear 25 feet of the properties at 11687 Camden, 11709 Camden, 11731 Camden, 11741 Camden, and 11755 Camden from N1 neighborhood to C1 local business to provide additional parking spaces for the Fontainebleau Health and Rehabilitation Center is hereby approved, subject to the city council approval for the following reasons. 1, the proposed portions of the properties to be rezoned C1 local business to better protect the surrounding residential character, limit future development potential, and ensure that the use of the property remains consistent with the intended purpose of providing additional off-street parking for Fontainebleau Health and Rehabilitation Center. Number 2, that the proposed change of zoning to C1, I keep losing this. would be compatible to and in harmony with surrounding zoning and land uses in the area. Number 3, the property involved in this request would be in full compliance with C1 district regulations. Number 4, that the proposed change of zoning to C1 would cause the zoning of the property to more accurately correspond to the use and size of the property, and the proposed zoning change represents a reasonable and logical plan for the subject property that adheres to sound land use principles, planning principles.
Is there support?
All supports.
All right, we have a motion to approve made by Mr. Bonjero, supported by Mr. Ventura. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, if the secretary is ready, please call the roll.
Mr. Bonjero.
Aye.
Mr. Ventura.
Aye.
Mrs. DeNaro.
No.
Mr. Droz.
Aye.
Caremagna votes aye. Chairman Wilshaw.
Votes aye, motion passes. We'll go to City Council with an approving recommendation. And again, just to reiterate the process, if you haven't been through this before, this is for the rezoning of the property to C1. This is now going to go to City Council. City Council will do a first and second reading on this. What then they will do is they won't vote on the rezoning, they will hold it. Once you get to that second reading stage, they'll hold the rezoning request, and then you'll start your site plan request to us. You're going to submit the site plan, which you already have more or less accomplished. You'll get that to us. We'll have a site plan approval meeting. We'll go through this whole process for site plan approval. When that gets approved, assuming that gets approved, that will then go to council, and then council will vote on both the rezoning and the site plan, usually at the same meeting.
Okay.
So that's kind of how it works. If that's not clear, you can always talk to our planning staff, and they'll be happy to explain that to you, but that just wanted to let you know how things work.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming tonight. All right. Item number 7,
Turn the page.
minutes.
Number 7, approval of the minutes of the 1,247th public hearing and regular meeting held by the Planning Commission on July 14, 2026.
Who was present on that one? All members except Mr. Bonjero and Mr. Caremagno. So we had 4 there. Mr. Long is not. Why is Mr. Long not even showing on this? That's interesting. Mr. Long is not listed as being on the agenda, on the roll call for that meeting. He disappeared.
I say, I guess he disappeared.
So we might need to fix that.
Okay.
So we'll make that, if someone's willing to make that correction to the minutes to make Mr. Long reappear, I think he'd appreciate that. And, because he was present at that meeting, as I recall. And so anyway, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Ventura, supported by?
I'll second. Oh.
We'll go with
Yep.
Mr. Droz. All right, so we got Ventura and Droz. If there's no objection, we'll show all members approving with Mr. Bonjero, Mr. Caremagno abstaining.
Got it.
That works? We got 4 or 5 votes on it? All right, good, excellent. That takes us to the end of our meeting. Is there any other business to come before the commission? If not, a motion to adjourn is in order.
Motion.
Okay, that is by Mr. Bonjero and supported by?
Caremagna.
Caremagno's going to take that one. Good job. Again, if there's no objection, I think we can show 6 on that, and we will adjourn the meeting tonight at 10:08 p.m. Holy moly. I want to thank Livonia Television staff for bringing this meeting to the community. Good night, Livonia.